Tanya, how are you on time?
I've got 5:28. Yep, you're going to do the pledge at the vote of silence. Oh, you don't have permission. Yeah, I didn't hear from Casey, so I didn't want to put her on the spot. Can you do both? Okay. It's taped to the It's taped to the okay. No, you don't. Yeah. It's a plan. Yes. Sorry, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to the Osceola County School Board meeting for Tuesday, October 19th. I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you would, please silence your cell phones throughout the duration of the meeting. We begin each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led tonight by Corey Ahn, teacher and coach at St. Cloud High School. National anthem will be Ava Ahn playing the violin and Dakota Downs playing the cello from St. Cloud Middle School. Our mission statement will be read by Tim Burdett. And our translation services will be led by Dr. Estudia Peñalosa, our Executive Director for Multicultural Services. If you would, please rise and join me in a moment of silence before we proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. Record.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the national anthem. seated. That,
Yes, sir. The Osceola County Schools mission statement is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential and responsible, productive citizens.
Good evening, I am Dr. Peñalosa and I'm here to provide translation services. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Araceli Peñalosa y estoy aquí para proveer servicios de traducción.
thank you very much. Now we begin with our comments from the board. I will start with my left. Mr. Melendez, do you have any comments tonight?
Yeah, it's just really amazing seeing the arts come alive. And, this weekend I had the ability to be in St. Cloud. And believe it or not, I ran into a musician, salsa singer named Frankie Negron. And it was amazing because he was willing to do like a charity concert for the district. And so I spoke with Dr. Pace, and she introduced me to, again, Chris Burns, Pam Haas, and Debbie Famey. We got together, and it's just exciting to see how it comes back alive again because Mr. Negron even mentioned when I spoke to him that he graduated from New Jersey from a School of the Arts. And he was telling me about how, it improves even your math skills. When kids are focused on an instrument, they have to, it's the part of the brain that gets them thinking about different things, and they take their studies more importantly because they want to be able to go to school and showcase themselves, participate in band, participate in orchestra or whatever it may be. So I'm really excited that the district is bringing, our students back. Because during the pandemic, it was tough seeing them on TV. Now we come live and they do more performances. I'm really excited about that. And then also, I had the honor of being on the Service Academy nomination board, for the United States Air Force. The Congressman Soto had appointed me to that. And we had numerous students from Osceola County on there. Maybe at the next board meeting, I'll give them a certificate because I tell you what, you're talking all A's, all B's, hard classes, and we're threading the needle, and we're trying to come up with reasons to choose the best student to go to the Service Academy. And so it just made me so proud to see Osceola County represented and really doing the best that we can. We won't know the process because it takes a while for them to make their decisions, but I think that's a tradition I think that I want to start sharing with the board annually, and let them know who gets there and who gets the nominations and how many students from Osceola County are actually in the military academies. So I'm really excited and looking forward to what's next.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Melendez, for your comments. So first, I just want to call out Osceola High School for dedicating the football field to a great community leader, Mr. Marcus Paul. I was there in attendance, as well as some other board members, and I just thought it was such an honor to be there, and I just want to commend the team for making it a really, really special event. I also attended a PTA meeting for Celebration K yesterday, and I just want to say to the parents that are involved, thank you so much for making it easier and enhancing the experience of all students that attend, all PTA parents, but especially the ones at CK because that's where I was yesterday. They're so professional, so focused on getting the work that needs to get done, and I really enjoyed sitting in on their meeting. And finally, I just want to call out having attended the Top 10 Junior Breakfast. I'm sure we all will attend ours. I don't know when you guys have yours, but mine was a couple weeks ago. And it was just such a pleasure to see our students and talk to their parents about the plans for their students. That's really something that helps me focus every year on the work that needs to get done. Why do I come here every day? Why do I do the work that I do for the students? So I just had such a great time over there. And I just want to thank our community relations team, as well as Mr. Cook and all the career counselors around the county, and Mr. Senator Torres, Representative Arrington, and of course Dr. Pace for always making that a very special event and helping me stay focused on the work that I need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we go to Mr. Arguez, can y'all hear us in the back row?
Yes.
Okay. We struggle with that, so those in the back row, if you get to where you can't hear us in the meeting, kind of just wave at me and get my attention, and we will try and speak it up. Mr. Arguez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also wanted to congratulate the applicants of the West Point Academy. I sit on that nomination board for Representative Soto, and that was a very inspiring way to spend your Saturday, is to admit kids or nominate kids who will be leading our armed forces in future generations. I'd also like to send out a tremendous kudos to the Liberty High School Advisory Organization, their SAC. I've been to many, more than a dozen, and I have to say that this group is not only a great size, but they have extremely vibrant and honest discussions. They have a very great way of asking questions. I just truly appreciate what you guys are doing, so I just wanted to send you guys a quick shout out. I also wanted to send out a shout out to the Museum of Military History that has a mobile display at the Parton Ranch Corn Maze. Please come out and visit at either their mobile display or to the museum. Also, teachers, this is a free field trip for you and your classes if you choose to go. And if you do choose to go, please let me know. I'm very happy to give you a personal tour of the museum, assuming you don't mind me tagging along. I wanted to congratulate the teachers on their hard-won contract, especially the bargaining team who did an amazing job. On behalf of teachers, this is a step in the right direction. I'll continue to support those who fight for the teachers and fight to make this district the best district in the state to work for. I wanted to send out prayers to the Posiak family of Harmony as they deal with a health crisis. Michael, I'm praying for you and your family. I wanted to talk a little bit about this, the piece of paper here that you see in front of me. A lot of you know that I started a contest. It is not a school district contest, and you're not guaranteed to become the new logo of Osceola County. But I did begin this contest for a new county logo. Okay, so the goal of any municipal brand should be to bring people together. In that respect, the logo was successful. It brought people together in opposition to the logo. However, I will say that I've decided to open it to all students, all grades. You can submit to me the design. The information is right here. A panel of judges will decide on the 10 best designs, and then we'll whittle it down, and shortly after that, announce a winner. And then we will propose it to the school, to the Osceola County Board of Directors, County Commissioners. Hopefully, you can go on to later tonight. You'll be able to go on to my social media pages, and you'll find the information and details there. Lastly, I wanted to thank the community who's reached out to me in regards to a variety of community issues. I have gotten a ton of calls. People are reaching out left and right. First, of course, was for the logo, which I thought that we kind of came up with a creative way to do something good there. I also was called out in regards to something that was extremely questionable, which was some racist comments made at the Board of County Commissioners. I took it extremely personal. Everyone should be affected, and I think that everyone needs to say something about this. Not only was it absolutely false what was said at that meeting, I spoke to the attorney at the county commission. There is no policy on speaking any language at the Board of County Commission's meetings, and I found the comments to be disgusting and condescending and absolutely exclusive of the community. So I appreciate the community reaching out to me. Obviously, that's not in my lane, but the community is one that I serve regardless of what my title or position is. And so I will also come out here and use the opportunity as a public servant to make a comment about it. I will tonight make 3 resolutions, or ask the board to adopt 3 resolutions. The first of which is to affirm the public's right to speak at our meetings in any language, and reaffirming the school district's encouragement of parental and community involvement. The second is a resolution that affirms our commitment to teaching a curriculum that is focused on developing the intellect of our students in a critical mind frame in which they can develop their own ideas, responsibility for being an upstanding citizen, and have a sense of human dignity and compassion for one another. And lastly, I will ask the school board to adopt a resolution condemning the false statement by the Osceola County Commission Chairman that English is the national language. We know that is patently false, and for an elected official, especially one who represents a largely Hispanic community, it is unacceptable. I took offense to it. I know many of those in District 3 took offense to it, and I know that the Latino community would absolutely like to hear our support in this matter. The county has no rural policy, as I mentioned, that prohibits speaking Spanish, so hence the resolutions, which I will pass out when it's time for when we do agenda modifications. That's all, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bass?
Yes, thank you all for attending, and again, thank you for our teachers and staff and paras and all of those, our bus drivers, all of those who are helping our students through the district. Thank you so much. It's been a busy couple weeks for me. I want to thank the Education Foundation. They invited myself and Chris Burns, who you just saw with the 2 ladies here with the district. He's their fine arts resource teacher, and George Hastings. We were the judges for the Rising Thunder fundraiser for the Education Foundation. That was really, really great. We're gearing up for our November 17th stakeholder invitation. We're moving along with our Boys and Girls Club, and we're looking forward to making some money for that organization. I want to give a shout out to our OBC award winners, our girls golf for St. Cloud. It's 5 years in a row that they've won it. They've got a great teacher out there. Congratulations to them. One specific young lady, Morgan, I'm going to butcher your name, Morgan, I know. Bullier, she's the first ever 4-time champion of golf, and that's unbelievable. And our girls swim team for Harmony's back-to-back champions. We had some, it was kind of encouraging, you know, we've all been mired down in the whole COVID, and it's probably taken the biggest toll on our students. And it was really nice to see the homecoming ticket sales for St. Cloud High School and Harmony far exceeded expectation. And we had a little hiccup at Harmony because they didn't have enough ticket sales. So, you know, contacting the district, and I want to thank the district and Randy and whoever was involved to expanding those sales out. And looks like they take this money and they apply it towards prom, and I think it's going to be a great year for them. Thank you for that. I want to thank Lair, April, and Christy. We all had meetings with OCEA, real encouraging conversation, and we're actually discussing planning an event maybe in the spring for an appreciation event. I don't know how it's going to look, but we're thinking a cook-off or hamburger cook-off, a chili cook-off, something along those lines. And I reached out to Chris Burns with Osceola Rocks, and he said that he would be willing to have his students come out and do a concert for us. So I'm looking forward to that. Something more specific, and I want to thank Brian Adams for this. Out at Harmony, our baseball and softball complexes are a little bit too close to each other. So when baseball and softball are playing at the same time, it's just a barrage of balls coming from both sides, and it's just a matter of time before someone gets hurt. So we're going to have to expand our netting out there, and it's not just at Harmony, it's Liberty and some other schools. So I want to go around to all the different schools and find out exactly which ones need the netting expansion, and then present that maybe at a later time. I see Mark's over there. He's already thinking about money. Listen, we got to figure it out. We got to figure it out. And last but not least, our Christmas parade. And I'm only going to mention Christmas parade because we have a lot of bands, a lot of participation from the school district. We're waiting on your applications. I have 40 entries as of now. We max out at 110. And it's going to be here before you know it. So all of you who have not submitted your application, all the band members of it, please reach out to me and let's get your application. We're looking forward to a great parade this year. Thank you.
Dr. Pace?
Just briefly, Prescriptions Unlimited has been partnering with us to provide a free flu shot COVID vaccine opportunities for our staff. And as of this week, we have done 878 flu shots and 601 COVID vaccines. We believe many of those to be the booster. And we've now completed our first round of pool testing in our schools across the county. And we have tested over 2,800 students and staff, 2,871 to be exact, and we've had 21 positive cases reported, so a 0.73 positivity rate within the school district. So pleased with those results, continuing to see our county numbers go down, and we want to keep everybody healthy. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Brings us to our presentations. The first presentation tonight is Presentation Leadership Award from the Florida Alliance for Arts Education. Pam Haas.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Pace. I am happy to be here tonight to present a special award on behalf of the Florida Alliance for Art Education, FAAE. I am honored not only to be a beneficiary of the incredible work and art support given by this team, but also as an official capacity as the current FAAE Vice President. With me tonight to present the award are my counterpart, Dr. Chris Burns, and Zebby Famey, our former colleague who is also on the FAAE advisory board. The Florida Alliance for Art Education recognizes leaders who work in various capacities to ensure that arts education is available in all Florida schools and communities, and that arts education is of the highest quality. The School District Administrator Award is intended to recognize leadership in advocacy and or public awareness related to ensuring the role of arts education in our schools. I am honored today to present this award to our Osceola Teaching and Learning Leadership team, including our Chief of Staff, Scott Flowers, and Assistant Superintendents, Dr. Chandra Evans, Dr. Michael Allen, and Dr. Belinda Reyes. Together, this dynamic team works hard to promote arts education in Osceola County and ensures that all students have access to a comprehensive, sequential, and well-rounded arts education. Congratulations, and thank you for your unrelenting support of arts in Osceola County. Very beautiful.
Here you go for the two of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a proclamation, National School Bus Safety Week of October 18 to 22. Arby Creech. Mr. Creech.
Good evening, Dr. Pace, Mr. Thacker, board members. I'm so very proud tonight to be here to discuss and proclaim this week as National School Bus Safety Week. To do that chore for us tonight, it's not a chore, it's actually an honor, is Miss Carla Geigel, and she's going to read it into the record for you.
Whereas every year, the nation's 480,000 public school buses travel more than 6.2 billion miles to transport over 26 million students, more than half of America's school children, to and school-related activities. And whereas Osceola School District's excellent safety record in transporting students to school each day on school buses has been achieved and must be maintained. And whereas school bus transportation is one of the safest forms of transportation in the United States, and school buses comprise the country's largest mass transportation fleet. And whereas school buses meet higher construction, equipment, and inspection standards than any other vehicle, and school bus drivers meet higher qualification, training, and testing standards than any other drivers. And whereas the theme of this year's National School Bus Safety Week is Be Safe, Know the Danger Zones. And whereas motorists must remember to stop when a school bus has stopped and has a stop arm extended and red lights flashing. And whereas activities during School Bus Safety Week and throughout the year provide evidence of Osceola School District's commitment to ensure health and safety of school children who ride school buses, as well as students that walk, bicycle, or ride in cars to school. Now therefore be it resolved that the Osceola School Board does hereby proclaim October 18th through the 22nd of 2021 as National School Bus Safety Week. Thank you.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez, with a second by Ms. Castillo to approve the proclamation. Board, any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the proclamation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Great job to your whole team, Arby, for what you all do. And what your team does every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next is a proclamation, excuse me, for Medical Assistance Week of October 18 through 22. Mr. Cadet?
Thank you, board, and Dr. Pace for having us tonight. No more time is important to recognize our medical people than now. We really relied on them. I have with me Erin Custer, our medical health science resource teacher, Ms. Carrie Bell, the amazing teacher that we have at the St. Cloud campus, and we also have two young ladies, Alexa Carrera and Taylor Smith. They will be reading the proclamation. And thank you, board, and Dr. Pace for the support of the 2021 Medical Assistance Recognition Week. Not all heroes wear capes. This year, medical assistants will be recognized across the country from October 18th to the 22nd. And these young ladies would like to read the proclamation.
Whereas medical assistants are multi-skilled, allied health professionals who perform a wide range of administrative and clinical roles with skill, dedication, and loyalty. And whereas medical assistants are the central figures in promoting and maintaining cooperative and successful relationships between patients and physicians.
And whereas medical assistants are vital members of the healthcare delivery system. And whereas medical assistants make a substantial contribution to the quality of healthcare in the United States.
Now therefore, the school district of Osceola County do hereby proclaim the week of October 18th, 2021 as Medical Assistance Recognition Week.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Arguello to approve the proclamation for Medical Assistance Week. Board, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all very much. Brings us to appointments and transfers. Dr. Pace?
Yes, Chairman Thacker and members of the board, I'm honored tonight with 2 assistant principal recommendations. If I could ask Ms. Sandra Ramirez to come to the podium, please.
They're having a hard time hearing you, Dr. Pace.
Here you go, dear, I'm sorry.
If I could invite Sandra Ramirez to the podium, please. Board members, I am honored tonight to recommend Ms. Sandra Ramirez to be the assistant principal at Highlands Elementary School. She has been a first grade teacher at Papa, a second grade teacher at Sunrise Elementary, the K-5 reading specialist, a dual language teacher, the testing coordinator, 21st century coordinator, an MTSS coach and LRS at COA, and also a literacy coach at COA, and now currently serves as the literacy coach at Neptune Elementary School. She received her bachelor's degree in liberal arts with a minor in elementary education from City College of New York, a master's degree in education administration and supervision from the University of Phoenix, and holds certification in elementary education, K-6, a reading endorsement, and ESOL K-12 certification, and certification in educational leadership at all levels. I'm super honored.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Aguero with a second by Mr. Bass to approve Ms. Ramirez as assistant principal at Highlands Elementary. Board, any further questions or comments? You certainly have the resume for it. Hearing no other comments, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Ramirez. You would
Thank you. I thank you very much. I feel blessed to be given this opportunity. I'd like to just thank my husband, my family, who have supported me through it all and have stuck by me. I have, they're here today. I also have some of great administrators. I have Dr. Penelosa, who's one of my administrators at COA, where I started my journey to my instructional leadership. I have Shannon. I have Shannon Mahoney, which is my, sorry, I didn't want to do this, but she is my current administrator and has honestly supported me through everything and has led me to this journey. Without her in school and giving me all the great opportunities that I've had in order to bring me here, I honestly would not be here today. I love you, honestly. And then I have my new administrator, Ms. Cummings, Patricia Cummings from Highlands, and my Neptune family is here, which I'm excited. They're here to support me, so it's very exciting. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Good luck.
And now, board members, if I could invite Ms. Amanda Smith to the podium. Board members, we have another person who's gone through our Aspiring Leader program, just like Ms. Ramirez, who's now reached the point of being ready to become the assistant principal at Narcoossee Elementary School. Ms. Smith has been a teacher at Highlands Elementary School and the math science instructional coach at Lakeview since 2016. She received her bachelor's degree in elementary education from Western Michigan University, a master's degree in business administration from Strayer University, and her master's degree in educational leadership from American College of Education. She holds certifications in elementary education, general science, English, educational leadership, ESOL, gifted, and K-12 reading. And I am honored tonight to present Ms. Amanda Smith to be the assistant principal at Marcusi Elementary School.
Motion by Ms. Arroyo, second by Ms. Castillo, to approve Ms. Smith for the assistant principal at Marcusi Elementary School. Board, any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm grateful for this opportunity to continue my career by serving as the assistant principal at Marcusi. I also want to thank Dr. Pace, Dr. Reyes for recommending me for this position. To Mr. Noble, my future administrator, thank you so much for the opportunity to work with him and his team. I have a lot of my former administrators here from previous years who came to support me. They've been such a great support. I also want to thank my family who is here today for their flexibility and support as I work towards this role. I look forward to growing and learning while continuing to serve the students and families of Osceola County. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Congratulations. And now, as we get ready to move into the agenda modifications of the regular agenda, I know there were some of you here, friends and family, to support the appointments. This is a good time. If you would like to leave, you are welcome to. We'll give you a second. If you want to stay, we'd love to have you. Board, as soon as they clear, if you'll get ready for any modifications you may have. Give him a second to clear. Okay, board, any changes or additions, deletions to the agenda? Dr. Pace as well? Any changes, any agenda modifications?
Yeah, not agenda, just adding to new business at this time.
What are you adding?
I want to add discussion on a potential middle school arts feeder program in District 3.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, an arts feeder program.
Arts feeder.
Yeah, we have profit, we don't have a middle school that's a feeder program.
Be sure to speak up loudly.
Yes. Okay, you guys can hear me?
You got anything else, or is that it?
No, that's it.
Ms. Castillo?
I'm all set,
Oh,
thank you.
nothing? Mr. Arroyo?
10.01, call for consent. And then I have for new business, 3 resolutions that I would like to submit to the board. Just for the sake of ease, we can,
Okay.
Mr. President, here, you can spread these out there.
Mr. Bass? Any
No, I'm
change?
good, thank you, sir.
Dr. Bass?
Under new business, not for specific action, but seeking consensus from the board on one item, and that would be an addition to our legislative priorities, to potentially consider seeking funding or support for an OTEC expansion to increase medical programming at our OTEC Poinciana and St. Cloud campuses. Dr. Arnott has had some discussion with Doug Bruce, and they believe that there is some potential there with the governor's focus on industry certification and CTE programming. And then also, just to put it on your radar, that we need to begin having discussion as a board about a potential sales tax referendum in partnership with the county and the 2 city governments, because our quarter penny share, the full penny, will expire in 2025. So I will put that on unfinished business for next board meeting, but I did just want to put it on your radar so that we can be transparent with the community.
So we're not discussing tonight, we're moving to unfinished business next week?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Board, Mr. Kruppenbacher?
Yes, on item 15.02, looking at doing some research on an issue related to it that's waiting for Tallahassee to give me some input.
You pulling it or removing it from this agenda?
Removing it from the agenda.
Okay, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, board, anybody got all that, or you want me to go down there?
So moved. Yeah, we have that submitted.
I'll second that.
A motion by Ms. Castillo, and a second by Mr. Bass to approve the agenda as modified, including pulling item 10.01 from consent. Board, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. That brings us, I believe, to item 10.01. Youthful Dep.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, my comments in regards to 10.01, I'm not necessarily against it. I'm familiar with the property. I'm not so sure that it would be a bad idea. It would be a bad idea to have a school at that location. However, I do think that more research needs to be done in terms of speculatory land purchases. This kind of came up and then it was put up for, to buy it. I think that we are not ready to pull the trigger on a purchase of this quantity. There's still things to consider. For one being, for example, whether or not we should be putting schools so close to.
This is actually the one that is the transportation facility.
Oh, I'm sorry, then I pulled the wrong one, I'm sorry.
The facilities agenda, there's a facilities consent.
If you're okay with this one, you want to move it on?
There's a facilities consent one.
That is.
Knight's Bridge.
I'm talking about the Brown property that I thought was 10.01.
transportation.
10.01 is the Brown property, that is proposed for the transportation.
It's Ham Brown.
I got you, yeah. We're okay with this now, I'm sorry.
So you need, somebody needs to make a motion now.
I'll make a motion to take.
Okay. Have a motion by Mr. Arguello,
Second.
a second by Ms. Castillo to approve item 10.01. Any further discussion? I don't think there is any. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to regular business and finance at 11. Board,
A
pleasure.
motion to approve 11.04.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 11.04. Board, any discussion?
I have a discussion here. In regards to 11.03, I just want to say, hey, Frank, it's a tough position that you're in. I can acknowledge that. It's a tough environment under the circumstances, but I appreciate your legal work and the advice that you've provided. So I just wanted to say thank you and good luck for the next 3 years.
Thank you. Mr. Melendez, you have a comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I do echo the sentiment, especially through the pandemic and everything else, with transportation issues. There's been a lot of liability, a lot of stuff thrown his way. He's been able to handle that. So I appreciate you, working us through this issue. My only concern though is, and I'm okay with approving it as is, and we spoke before ahead of time, was that there's a financial component to it as well. In the future, I would like the board that when we're amending contracts with an additional finance piece, to put that in the budget when we do the budget making process, because I'm not exactly sure where that money's coming from. So, actually, I'd like to ask that now. It's the additional $3,000 a month to the salary, which I'm not opposed to, he's earned it. But what pot of money is that coming from, and is there amendment to the budget that we're gonna have to do to move that forward to get that allocated?
No, so we have a line item for legal services, and Mr. Kupferbacher's contract is paid for out of that line item, so there's enough in there to absorb this increase in the contract.
Right, and that's when we expect there to be like so much litigation, right? So we're just not expecting that much litigation this year, or just, kind of hoping that.
For all legal services.
It is a never-ending battle managing.
I'm gonna save 36 grand somewhere else, Frank.
Not only litigation, but the lawyers who do the work.
Yeah, but I guess that's my only concern is, and again, I'm for approving this now, but just in the future, when we do amend any contract, that we try to do that during the budget process, and that way it's very clear, where it's coming from. So with that, I'll motion to approve.
We already have a motion by
Oh, we already
Ms.
do?
Castillo and a second by Mr. Bass. Am I correct there? I have a motion by Mr. Castillo, second by Mr. Bass to approve items 11.04. Board, any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to talk 12.02 with you before anybody makes an.
Okay, let's handle 12.1 and 12.2 separately, if y'all are okay, because I have somebody here that wants to speak to 12.02 also from the audience, so.
And I need our lawyers here, I'd like them to speak on it too.
Okay, so let's do 12.01 first, board. Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Melendez, a second by Ms. Castillo to approve item 12.01. Board, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. If you would, board, I'll call the person up who wishes to speak to this first, and then we will deliberate ourselves. Chris Fontenot is here to speak on that. Did I get that even close?
Yes, you did.
Did I get Chris right?
Yes.
Okay. If you would, your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Christina Fondo, and I live in St. Cloud. For those who are unaware, this agreement takes approximately 25 acres that the school board owns, commonly known as the Fifth Street property, and sells it to Starlight Homes for $4.2 million. Both parties acknowledge that the purchase price is based on the buyer, Starlight Homes, obtaining 175 lots. There are some other stipulations in the event the base number is fewer than 175, but for time-saving purposes, I'll stick to that intended number. The reason given for the land sale is because it is a surplus property. When I looked up the company online, I noticed that Starlight Homes prides itself on being affordable housing. They have a new development called Sunbrook that's located minutes from Lake Nona and about 10 minutes from downtown St. Cloud. I will admit, the homes on their website do look pretty beautiful. The lowest priced home they have listed in this neighborhood is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,802 square feet for $1,564 a month. More on this in just a minute. The highest priced home listed is also a 4-bedroom, 2-bath with 1,827 square feet for $1,594 a month. That seems reasonable, and less than I'm currently paying for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath rental. Then comes a fine print at the bottom. These estimated monthly payments are based on a purchase price of $365,990, with 3.5% down and a 30-year fixed loan at 3.498% APR. According to those numbers, including a low ballpark of an extra $500 in fees for insurance, taxes, HOA fees, an approximately monthly mortgage payment would be over $2,000 a month, which means a household would need to make $6,000 a month to comfortably afford their mortgage payment. That comes out to about $72,000 a year. The average median income for St. Cloud makes less than $60,000, which is $12,000 less than the estimated annual salary needed to purchase one of these homes. Osceola County median average is even less than $60,000, so who's going to be able to afford these homes? Affordable housing is a hot topic in the county right now, rightfully so. Please help me understand how taking an approximately 25-acre lot that was paid for with taxpayer dollars and selling it to Starlight Homes for $4.2 million to build affordable housing that the average resident isn't able to comfortably afford. Is this really something that's in the best interest of the community? Don't you think the taxpayers should have a vote in how their tax money is being spent? It sounds like a backdoor deal that's being snuck under the noses of residents, when it should be made public for residents to weigh in and vote on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Fontenot. Board? Somebody had comments.
Yes.
I don't remember who.
Well, did the attorney want to speak first, or?
Wait a minute. Is this what Marcus is here for?
Yes, he's here on this item.
Is he here?
We would defer.
Mr. Martelli, do you want to speak to this, or are you here to answer questions?
Marcos, why don't you defer to the board member?
That's not the issue that I'm here to address. I'm here to address the contract negotiation and the price relative to the appraisal of the property, and I'm happy to address that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do you want him to address that board, or do you want to make your comments so we?
I mean, if you'd like to, Mr. Marchena, you want to do that first?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Superintendent Pace. I'm Marcos Marchena. I'm an attorney, and I assisted the staff in negotiating this contract. This property, when it was last appraised for approximately $1.3 million. The school board has determined the property to be surplus, and of course, you have an obligation to generate as much funds as you can from the sale of the property, as you're looking at your budgets and so on and so forth. Even if the property has gone up in value significantly over the past couple of years, the base price would be well in excess of twice the appraised value. There is nothing in the contract that addresses affordable housing. The company that would contract to purchase the property is going to have to go through the process of approvals through the city of St. Cloud in order to be able to get any approvals to proceed with any construction. You are not granting them any rights to build any specific number of units as part of this contract. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Mr. Marchena, let us go through and we may have some.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Arguello, your light is on.
Yes, so my concern with this contract is that we haven't provided sufficient opportunity for the public to be involved in its sale. And as much as I understand our obligation is to get as much as we can for the land, the problem is, Mr. Marchena, if for example, if you're familiar with the dynamics in St. Cloud right now, the public is very vocal about their concerns with overdevelopment. So here we are, the school district as a public entity, contributing to the problems that the community is concerned about over there. So my concern is that we have not had a discussion as to what else we can do with this land that would better suit the people in St. Cloud, the community of St. Cloud. For example, building a park or something else. Someone else had mentioned that we could put a community pool. I know that the city put a kibosh on that after a certain amount of time for this purpose. But if we sell this land specifically so that it can be developed for this number of homes, I know that we're basically contributing to the problem of development over there, which doesn't have the infrastructure to support it, in my opinion. So that's the reason why, if everyone that I spoke to, I did not have one person come to me in the positive on this issue. So that's the issue. I would like to see assurances of what the purchaser is going to do, and then you guys put that not to the city so much as to the community, and allow the community to tell us whether or not they agree with what we're doing here.
Good.
Thank you.
Mr. Melendez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just for a point of clarity, we did have a workshop and this was discussed. So, and I think we had a discussion about this and the Pine Tree Road, which is also in the city of St. Cloud. And that was a concern that I had with Pine Tree Road's property, was getting that all residential. And Pine Tree, where it's located, it's right where the Canoe Creek, both of them intersect a little bit off to it. And we felt that that had more ability to become a commercial property as opposed to 100 new houses. And so, and I'm glad to say at the workshop this morning, or not today, I had a discussion with staff earlier saying that they're gonna actually try to promote that to be converted to commercial. So, so St. Cloud is working with us, and then so, this property in question was discussed before, and I know nobody came, but so I just wanna make that clear, that we did have this out in the public, we did have a workshop on it, we discussed it, and I kinda came to that same conclusion too. The Pine Tree has more ability to be zoned, commercial or parks and recreation. The Lakeview property is surrounded is real estate. And I just have a concern with being overly prescriptive to tell a buyer what to do with the property. You know what I mean? Because that's where I had questions too. When I pulled the item, I had questions about why is the sale on this number of units versus that number of units? We don't care, you know what I mean? The reality is it residential or not residential? And is that in conformity with the surrounding land use? And when you look at the conformity with the surrounding land use, single-family residences is appropriate. They're not asking for an apartment complex, they're not asking for something that varies from the current land use. So, if somebody does have a concern, I guess that's a concern, but I just know that this isn't the first board meeting where we've discussed this before. And so it has been discussed before the public, and we are taking assurances to let them know that it is conforming. It's not an apartment complex, it's not nothing that's not the surrounding properties have. And then the one on Pine Tree, that leans itself more towards commercial usage as opposed to more houses and more residential property. So, and staff did agree. And so I think that there is a nice mix of use property, and we're really just a school board. I mean, we could try to suggest, but I'm scared to go that slippery scope of going beyond our authority.
Mr. Hardaway, you got a comment? I've got a very brief comment.
Yeah.
Board, if we can get a motion and move.
So the issue isn't whether or not we are deciding what goes there, right? It's not for us to decide what goes there as a school board, that's obvious. What's not obvious, the whole point of all of the code that's involved and all of the regulations involved with deciding how that land use is gonna turn out is for the benefit of the community. So this is, it's one of those situations where Sabbath is made for the man, not man for the Sabbath. So the problem here is that if we allow this to be sold, disregard what the community wants, then all of a sudden this is one of those situations where we're doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons, right? Or we're doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. But certainly we're not doing the right thing for the right reasons. So I think that we need to consider what the public says, we need to consider what the public wants. That's our charge as just a municipal agency. It's not just to pick, I don't care how many houses, I never asked how many houses were being done. I didn't even ask how much this was being sold for. I'm assuming that this is the best price that we can get. That's all fair. That's not the issue. The issue is the will of the community, and the will of the community is absolutely in our purview, right? If we're gonna do something that is counterproductive to what the will of the community, then we need to allow them to have more say. And I know that we may have discussed this at a previous point in the meeting during the afternoon, but nobody comes to those, very few people are aware. If we put out a public notice right now, we allow St. Cloud to know, hey, we are building this, or we are allowing this to be built on your community, on your property, you guys have a chance to provide input, I'm sure that they would have. So that's really the issue.
Can we get a motion to move this?
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez with a second by Ms. Castillo to approve the purchase and sale agreement. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those.
One last comment, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, real brief. And at the end of the day, this is just approving the sale. The city of St. Cloud itself can regulate its own zoning. So if somebody is opposed to these houses to get on there, then go to the city of St. Cloud and tell them it's their rules and regulations that set up the zoning. We don't have that authority to tell the city, what they can do with their land. So we're just selling it, and the city of St. Cloud can make that final determination. I just want to make that really clear. So it's not like the public doesn't have an opportunity to voice their opinion. They can go to a city of St. Cloud meeting, now that we voted on it, and go to them and then let them know what it is that they desire. If that's what they
This
desire.
property could also be bought and sold 5 more times before anybody goes in there with a shovel. So, Mr. Arguello?
I completely agree. The problem here is that we're not going to consider, at least on a theoretical, what can be done with this land. For example, can the school district build something or make use of this property that is beneficial to the community as opposed to selling it off and allowing something to be built that the community is against? That's really what this is about. It's not, I'm just saying that we should consider things that we could do. For example, if we built a community pool there, would it be more beneficial to the community? If we built a park there, as a school district, would it, and those are all things that we could do. So it's just a matter of what could we do, have we considered all those options, and should we before we turn this over to the private development land? Not that I'm against that, I'm just saying that we should consider all options. Thank you.
A motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Ms. Castillo, to approve item 12.02. Board, anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Brings us to item 13.01.
Motion to approve item 13.01.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 13.01. Just one quick comment, the negotiating team on both sides, thank you all for getting your heads together, getting us where we need to be, and allowing this to move forward. Great job to all of you.
Mr. Chairman, if it is all right with you, Mr. Marchena can be dismissed.
Yes, we're done. So, I have a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 13.01. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to the public comment portion of the meeting. I believe I got the only one that had marked a specific agenda item, so we will just go through these in the order that I have these. First up, if you would, as I call your name, if you come up, you'll have 3 minutes. You need to give your name and address for the record, so our recording secretary has that. Also, you will have 3 minutes. I'm going to request that you please limit your time to the 3 minutes. There's a clock up there. And from the audience, if you would, please allow them the courtesy to speak without interruption, as we will give that courtesy to everybody who does speak. So first up is Jason Batson. Jason, are you here? Jason, coming in. Next up will be Angelica McKinney, if you'll be ready. Mr. Batson.
I'm Jason Batson. I live in St. Cloud, Florida. I want to start off by saying that I'm a Christian. I'm a born-again Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ and I believe in His Word, and that is truth. I don't care what anybody else says. That is truth in my household. Now, with that being said, are you guys familiar with the Parents' Bill of Rights? So I want to read something to you guys real quick, if you don't mind. Chapter 10:14, Parents' Bill of Rights. Legislative finding and definition, the legislator finds that it is a fundamental right of the parent to direct the upbringing, education, and care of their minor children. The legislator further finds the important information relating to a minor child should not be withheld, either inadvertently or purposefully, from his or her parent, including information relating to the minor child's health, well-being, and education. And everything that goes on in that school affects my child's well-being. Everything that comes in and everything that goes out. Can we all agree to that? So, with that being said, I also want to read you a little bit farther down in paragraph 1014.03, infringement of the parental rights. The state of any of its political subdivisions, any other governmental entity, or any other institution may not infringe on the fundamental rights of a parent to direct the upbringing, education, health care, and mental health of his or her minor child, without demonstrating that such action is reasonable and necessary to achieve a compelling state interest, and that such action is narrowly tailored and is not otherwise served by a less restrictive means. No child should be afraid to be in their own skin. No child should be taught that girls kissing girls and boys kissing boys is okay. That is not okay in my house. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a violation of my parental rights, and it's right here in our legislation. And we all know that it's in these schools. And I also want to read this to you. Abraham Lincoln said this: America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves, and that's exactly what's happening in this country. Thank you.
Next up, Ms. McKinney, followed by Vanessa Bryant. Ms. McKinney. Kenny, you know the drill. Name and address for the record, please, and you have 3 minutes.
Angelica McKinney, 7060 Ranch Court. So this is in regard of the NPC that was last week.
Can you speak up just I'm having a hard time.
Oh, okay. This is about the NPC from that was last week. And so besides everything that everybody provided to you guys, that is all over the website, the other thing I wanted to for you guys to take in consideration is that based on one of the comments someone from the school wrote on the website that supposedly helps with teacher retention. Well, right now, we are missing out on the teachers in 2018. Last year it was 2. So if this program was purchased or started in 2018, and someone says that it's been paid for the past 3 years, which years was it good as far as teacher retention? I mean, 2021 minus 2018 is 3 years, right? So which year was it good? So I don't see why would you be spending money on something that's supposed to be good for teacher retention when indeed is not. There's no teachers right now. There were last year. One of the reasons I spoke about it and to see who will be responsible for not having students is because I noticed it last year. And I didn't say anything because of COVID and all that, and I wasn't gonna be silent this year. So that's a lot of wasted money, in my opinion. Another thing is the CEO for NPC, his name is Desmond K. Blackburn. So he was, this is just a little background on him, he was Brevard County School Superintendent. It's the same Brevard County that is keeping away from parents' rights. He was upset about, he made a comment actually when the National School Board was upset about the parents going to the school meetings and complaining. He wasn't happy about it. However, he never made a comment when the same National School Board Association referred to as terrorists. So that's something to keep in mind. And he didn't make a comment either when the DA did also go as domestic extremists. Now, right now, just because he assured the superintendent that there was no ideologies that we should just go ahead, or for you guys to go ahead and approve these
Ms. McKinney, your time is up. I'm gonna ask you to go ahead
correct.
and wrap it up, please.
What's that?
Your time is up. I'm gonna ask you to please stand down.
Okay, no, you took most of it, interrupting me. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak? It's out of turn, but it's something that needs to come up now.
Let's continue going through these.
Well, this is something very important because somebody just sent me a picture of my car with flyers with BLM on it, and I want to know, do we have videos outside to see who put them there? Yes.
Mr. Shatu.
I can show you.
Who can
address
Mr.
it.
Yates, can you help her with this? Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't have any idea that's what, I apologize. Mr. Yates can help you.
Mr. Yates.
So next up is Vanessa Bryant. I've lost myself.
Okay.
And that will be followed by Becky Burnett, if you'll be ready. Ms. Bryant, give us your name and address for the record.
I'm Vanessa Bryant, 590 Cody Allen Court, St. Cloud, Florida. The reason why I'm here again to speak, I'm not here to attack. I'm just really frustrated. Because this summer I met, and I'm referenced that 2 weeks ago, I met with the superintendent and Mr. Bass, my pastor at Fred Hawkins' office, on critical race theory and transgenderism in our schools. I have the proof in my hand of registration
of decentering whiteness in the classroom workshop that was put on at St. Cloud High School. And when I brought that up, the superintendent basically said to me, well, I didn't know that was the title. If I'd known that was the title, I wouldn't have let that go out. Okay, where you title it one thing, but the content is still the same. But I don't know, that's called whitewashing as far as what I'm concerned in the Bible. What you say and what you do are two different things. It's still happening in our schools. We had the LGBTQ plus in the music, solidarity. It was done through the arts. Okay, I asked her specifically, why are these trainings going on? And she said, the governor has made it very clear, there will be none of this in our schools. Okay, well, I know he has. And I was at a dinner the other night where the lieutenant governor spoke, and she made it clear, it better not be in our schools. Okay, well, it still is. So, this book, Coaching for Equity, was done with reading coaches. Okay, I know what reading coaches do. They go back and train their teachers. That's what coaches do. I bought this book myself because a reading coach from a high school gave it to another teacher. And I looked at it. So I went ahead and spent my money, which I really didn't want to do. This book is racist from page 1 all the way through. And the people that are referenced in here are also. So here it is. Racism is a system of oppression that emerges from beliefs that is one race superior to another based on biological characteristics. The only racist system that has ever existed is one based on the ideology of white supremacy. This system is designed to benefit and privilege whiteness by economic and social measure. Racism is prejudice plus power in the United States and other places in the world. Institutional power is held by white people. A racist is someone who can consciously and unconsciously upholds a system of culture of white supremacy. That made me sick, but the 1619 Project is in here. It's in the first 2 chapters. This book is basically saying that I'm white and I'm responsible for oppression in this country. But you are. If you're sitting there and you're white, you're responsible for the oppression of people of color. That is such a disgrace. People of color are not marginalized. Okay, their success, they have the same ability. And the last thing I want to say.
Your time is up. Thank you for your comments. Your time is up.
Well, the last thing I want to say is you need to check your libraries out because Harmony High School is full of racism. One book they have is Me and White Supremacy. Go check out your libraries. And gender queer is in your libraries too, along with Lawn Boy. It looks like it's innocent, but it's not. It's the sexualization of our children.
Ms. Burnett? Is Rebecca Burnett here still, or she? I thought I saw her earlier. Sergio Ortiz? Ortiz. Sorry.
That's okay, I've been called worse.
I'm trying.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sergio A.
We have a translator
Ortiz.
too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We have a translator too.
Oh, no, I'm gonna speak in English. I speak in English good.
Yes.
My issue is this, I wanna commend you because you are trying to at least teach our youth the proper way. Because education is essential. I believe that that's what has built this country. And every great civilization has been empowered by the way that they have been educating their system and how they have educated their children. They are here to raise young men and women without having to go by what this young lady was speaking about. Because education is supposed to be neutral. It's supposed to be like Walter Cronkite. That's the way it is. And take it and leave it as it is. This country has done bad things. And it also has done great things. We are the innovation of the world because we believe in education and we give and help the children of this nation become great. And there's always credit where credit is due. I believe that if there's something wrong, we speak it out. Something right, we say it right. Now, Mr. Arguello, I love your concept because what they have done in county building was atrocious. It has nothing to do with you or this meeting right here, but you stood up and said, let's do something about it, and you should be commended for at least trying to do something for a bad situation, which I thank you. And I believe that this county is gonna be in great hands with more men like you. People who care about education and not afraid to speak out the word. People who speak out with a mouth that is not covered by a piece of cloth that doesn't protect you. You just sound muffled, and I'm sorry. It is my opinion. You sound ignorant when you speak through those things that we can barely hear you. And I commend you for doing the job because a lot of people don't want to get involved with the Board of Education. But you said, I'm going to go out there and do the job. So that should be commended too. But the issue that I have, as some of you have seen it.
Go ahead, Mr. Ortiz, go ahead.
No, I got time. I got
Address us.
50 seconds. I have an issue with that.
I didn't see it.
It was put on every conservative conveyance in this parking place.
Mine's out there.
Now, is this what we're teaching our students? Do you believe in this crap? Is this something that you represent? Are you going to do something about it? Now, this is a violation of everybody's property because they have come into somebody else's private property, invaded it, and they just, for me, this is a destruction of the private rights. And not only that, it involves they're telling people, we're gonna get you. We're gonna come back to you.
That is a violation of board policy.
Yeah, there's nobody here.
I'm not blaming you. I'm not saying, I didn't see you do it.
You should.
But I believe that this, something like this, should not be part of the curriculum in the student or the education system in this country. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
My time is up. Y'all have a blessed day.
Next up will be Mark Peters, and that will be followed by Laura McAdams. Mr. Peters, name and address for the record.
Good evening, Chairman and school board members and Dr. Pace. My name is Mark Peters, Kissimmee, Florida. A couple of things I want to touch on. Yes, I saw the kids at Gateway putting out these big signs on the fence, and I'm assuming those are the kids that put signs, flyers in every car in the parking lot. We have security in here to protect you guys from us. We're not here to hurt you. We're not here to do anything. But no one is out there watching over our cars that can be vandalized before we leave here. It's amazing, right? You're thinking that we in here are out to get you. We're not. We're here for our children. And just to point out a few things real quickly. Yesterday I was at the VOCC meeting, and I couldn't get past what I wanted to say because the vice chairman, Commissioner Jenner, was shutting me out because I was speaking something that was not on the agenda. Basically, what she was saying that I don't have the freedom to speak to those elected. And I've looked at them before and I'm saying like you guys are positioned on dais, which is above us in a sense. We're sitting down below, we're your subjects, and you guys are our leaders, kings and queens, and you dictate what we're to do. And that is, I find, to be not right. Now, what has become with the BOCC, I hope does not happen here. We have the freedom to come and tell you how we feel about our children, about what you guys have great control over. A simple thing like the mask created such an uproar. You saw many come out in favor and against. But you guys went against the law that was set in the state to make some political statement. Do you know your policy on the mask for elementary and middle school expired on October 5th? But some of the schools haven't gotten that message. But it's amazing, when you pass that law, all the schools got it instantly. But when it's expired, my son is in school, and I called him and said, the policy expired. Oh yeah, we didn't know that. I said, what do I need to do if he doesn't want to wear a mask? You need to bring a note. Really? The policy is still in place. You guys have not done enough to communicate it to the schools the same way you communicated it, that the policy was in place. Now, I'm going back to the statement of being allowed to speak freely before the board. The BLCC changed this on November 2nd, 2020, with the idea to shut down freedom of speech. Because before that, we could speak in Collash, we can speak in Split Oak, we can speak on anything, including penny sales tax, but that offended them, because those are the things they supported. Once you guys support, we're gonna offend, maybe you'll make that change. I pray that doesn't happen here. Give us the freedom to come and speak to you guys and tell you about how we feel about our children and how we feel you should lead us. Because obviously, we're the one in charge, not you guys. But it's been switched around. You guys are misinformed. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure, Mr. Kramerbacher?
I think
And then Ms. McAdams?
it would be illegal to not have a forum where the public can speak up. I spoke with the chairman about this and he agreed with me. I think it would be illegal and inappropriate to ever take off a standard public agenda portion where the public can address the full board as a board. So as long as I'm sitting here, that will be my legal position.
You think? Good? Ms. McAdams, 3 minutes, name and address for the record, and the floor is yours.
Laura McAdams, St. Cloud, Florida. You all know me very well. I have another packet of folders for you. More regarding the NTC, because I know that subject's being touched on today by the attorney. I'm not sure what kind of research he's brought up, but I've included a lot more in there. Especially on the subject of the new teacher center, which also includes school systems undeserved BIPOC students. BIPOC by definition is Black, Indigenous, and people of color. It is used as an umbrella term for all people of color, but now it's a different acronym and suddenly gaining traction on the internet. So, I mean, that's all over the new teacher system. It doesn't matter at this point what you guys are trying to implement it for, but it doesn't belong in the school. So as you see the situation tonight, I believe that's all transpired by everything that's being taught and implemented in the curriculums in the school due to all of these things going on. And that book that Ms. Vanessa Bryant brought up here earlier, I have a copy. I got it out of the media center at Harmony High School. Wow. So it is legit. It has a little tag here that was, you know, it was taken out of the library. Here's just a little bit that was in here. White supremacy is a system you have been born into. Whether or not you have known it, it is a system that has granted unearned privileges, protection, and power. It is also a system that has been designed to keep you asleep and unaware of what having privilege, protection, and power has meant for people who do not look like you. We don't have to really go on and read any more here. I'm a Latina woman, came from Mexico. My parents immigrated here, they came from nothing. I'm probably the first of my family members, and I have a ton, that has done something with their life and plans to continue to do more. Being involved in the community now more than ever, and I'm going to continue to do so. I never was taught that there was white kids that were more privileged than I was, that could learn better than I could. I mean, to me, this is an insult, telling children basically you're dumb because you're brown or you're black. That's very insulting. I mean, yes, we might have to work a little harder, because I sure did. I learned Spanish first, my first language. I had to work really hard to learn English and to learn literature, to speak grammar. It happens, but I got the extra help from teachers because that's their job. You're supposed to teach education, geography, history, mathematics, science, not this crap to students. This is why there's so many problems in society because of race. I think America is the most racist country in the world right now. There's so many other countries that don't even mention race. They just say hello, they're friendly. What is the point of all this? You're creating hate in our schools and our students, and at that, the little ones. I see innocent pictures of, you know, all kids of every ethnicity walking together, holding hands, laughing, playing, singing. That's the way it's supposed to be. Their minds are innocent. They don't know any better. They just see, oh my gosh, they're my friend. I really like them. That's it. I'm going to finish out with this. This is what God has to say about teaching children to sin. But if you cause one of these little ones who trust me
To fall into sin, it would be better for you to have a large millstone tied around your neck and drowned in the depths of the sea. That's Matthew 18:6. That's what you're trying to teach our students, the little kids especially.
Thank you, Ms. McAdams.
You're teaching them to hate, and that's not right. I also have this for the attorney, because this panorama survey went around,
Thank you.
and it shouldn't have.
I have a quick question for Dr. Pace. That book does seem kind of extreme, when it says white supremacy. How does a book about white supremacy, is that allowed to be ordered, or does that kind of go through?
Dr. Pace, can I address that when we get to my presentation?
The librarian ordered it and approved it.
Our board policy is specific about how library books are selected. Board policy 4.21 includes the selection of instructional materials process, and 4.30 is the process for challenging material that is in the library. Specifically, says collection should reflect the current board academic standards and the diverse learners of the school population. And there's quite a bit of additional information. Educational media materials selection, School Board Rule 4.22 states, the primary objective of the school's educational media center is to implement, enrich, and support the educational program of the school. The center shall provide a wide range of materials at all levels of difficulty, with diversity of appeal and the representation of different points of view. So if anyone in the community or a parent wishes to challenge anything that we have in our media centers, we have a process by which they go about doing that. It's in board policy.
Same as the video footage process.
Just a minute. Mr. Peppenbarger, you're gonna address it in a little bit? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask what the lady who gave me this, where was this handed out?
We can hear you, sir.
I said, where was this handed out?
That was done electronically via phones and the computers at the schools without parents' consent and
What
parents actually
school?
knowing about it.
Every school.
Every
Every
school.
school.
County.
All right, thank you.
Next up will be Emily Grantz. And she'll be followed by Tammy Fitzgibbons. Ready?
Good evening. My name is Emily Grintz, 1463 Fledgling Court, Orlando. I'm here as a teacher and also as a member of OCEA as our Eastside Elementary rep. I want to say, first of all, I spoke last time about the importance of getting our instructional bargaining done, and we got it done. So thank you. We're obviously going through their application process, but we very much appreciate that teamwork and getting through with that. And we saw tonight Teamsters are getting approved, so we are super excited about all of that. That being said, we're here again because we got to get our ESPs as well, because we can't do our jobs as teachers without our support professionals. ESPs are everything from paraprofessionals to our clerical staff to our nurses. And the way that our schools function relies on them. If our nurse is out for the day, it's an elementary school. It's chaos. Someone's always vomiting. Someone's always got something. They're little. It happens, you know, like no matter what, we rely on these people every day. But they're so undervalued. We have an LPN at one of our schools. Our nurse makes $24,000 a year. A year! She's the frontline worker for any child that has COVID symptoms. And we're paying her $24,000 a year. And that's consistent across the school district. It's not just like one random LPN, you know? We also have our paraprofessionals making $14 an hour, $15 an hour, and all of that is going on when we can afford to give a $3,000 raise and not know where the money comes from. To ask it in a board meeting where it's already on the agenda to be approved, a $3,000 a month. And then to also have that happening at the same time when we can say, well, we have $250 million in CARES Act, let's use it. And to happen at the same time that we say we have an 11% savings. And happen at the same time that we can say, well, we're selling this property and getting $4.2 million. But to be told, well, you got a 30-cent raise last year, so we're good. We can't do anything. It's just so upsetting and devaluing and demoralizing to be like the people on the front line, to be constantly told, this is celebratory, we love you guys, we can't do it without you, but also we can't pay you either. And it's just, it's not fair, and we just really wanna make sure that they're not forgotten, because it wouldn't function without them. And we've got to do better. We got to send the message that our board cares, our community cares, and that we're not going to continue to let people at McDonald's or fast food or Amazon make more than education support professionals. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up will be Tammy Fitzgibbon, followed by Don Osceola.
Thank you.
My name is Tammy Fitzgibbon. I'm from Kissimmee, Florida. There are probably some people that are upset because the BLM and George Floyd items were finally taken down. I want to express my gratitude to whoever settled the issue. I want to thank you. I thank you because as a parent, I don't think critical race theory belongs in our schools. We don't teach our children to burn down cities. We don't teach our children to be disrespectful people because that's not who we are. We respect our law enforcement and we don't teach our children to hate, which was all done by the BLM and the George Floyd. We are to teach our children how to live peaceful and show respect to the people, and we teach them to love one another. We need teachers to teach our children English and math and government and history and science and writing and economics and vocational trades. The kids today don't even know how to write cursive, or some don't know how to write cursive, some don't know how to count money or even tell time. They have no life skills, which they need to know. It takes a village to raise our children, and they don't need to be raised with CRT. And raise them with the fruits of the Spirit, which are in Galatians 5:22-23. It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. We have a lot of things going on in our school curriculum right now with this issue, with AIR.org and the NTC and the computers that we're having issues with still. I want to touch on that with, here we are 7 weeks into school, and my child still has no computer. And she has to do her work on a cell phone, her personal cell phone. That's not okay with me. And I told her tonight, you are not doing your homework. And if you get in trouble tomorrow, you tell your teacher to call me. Because you should have a computer by now, being 7 weeks in school. You should not be using your personal cell phone to submit classwork and do homework. So I don't know what's going on with our schools and what's being taught. I wish things would get fixed. I don't know. I've always heard the schools down south were pretty bad, and I moved down here and I'm seeing now what I've always been told. And it's pretty sad for our children.
Thank you, Ms. Fitzgibbon. Don Osceola. Followed by Becky Burnett.
I'm not gonna speak.
Okay. No problem. Then Carmen Diane Knight will be after Ms. Song. Ms. Song, if you would, name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Dawn Salma, and I reside at 920 Jameson Loop in Kissimmee, Florida. Good evening, Chairman and fellow board members. I stand here today with disgust and disgrace at the actions and the situations that occur at Gateway High School. I am a proud parent of a 16-and-a-half-year-old child who is a suicide survivor, okay? What we have experienced at Gateway these past 5 months has been disgusting, detrimental. I couldn't even begin to stand here before you tonight to let you know the torment and fear that my daughter goes to school every single day and lives with 2 or 3 particular students that attend the same high school. One in which we have a Florida injunction against. The other seems to skate by and get away with it as she continues to be racist and disgusting towards my child. And it's being brought up it's being brought up to school administration, whom we have lost all trust in. Yvette Ponzola, James Long, you should be ashamed that you ever hired them to work in this county or at Gateway High School. And let's not forget our 2 SRO officers at Gateway High School who illegally violated my civil rights and falsely arrested me and again made a racial comment to my child who is mixed. I don't see color, I see love. We all bleed the same color, and that's red. I'm here to tell you that my right hand has a right contusion, and I was falsely arrested and violated my civil rights by Deputy Fowler, who resides as an SRO in Gateway High School. What goes on in Gateway High School, what the administration is allowing, I will continue to tell you, we have unlicensed drivers with permits of 1 or 2 months that are driving to and from Gateway High School and parking illegally in the lot without the paid ticket that must be purchased when you are a 1-year licensed driver. That same individual threatened to kill my daughter on the property of Gateway High School parking lot. And when we talk about video footage, I've requested 5 times for video footage by Lester Yates. And I'm going to continue to advocate for my child. And what I have 6 seconds, I timed myself, thank you. And the last thing that I'm gonna state is I hear that it's National Principals Month. I wouldn't honor Mr. Long if you paid me 1 penny. Thank you.
Harmon Diane Knight, followed by Zahira Pim Andino. Sure, I did not.
Carmen Diane Knight, 1990 Mustang Court, St. Cloud, Florida. First of all, I want to say I was really glad that I was able to step in and hear Mr. Creech. If there's anybody that's going to get your buses going, it's going to be Mr. Creech. I guarantee it. He is absolutely fabulous. But I'm here tonight to follow up on a statement that was made by one of your teachers session before last about you as the school board exploring the training mechanisms or curriculum that's being used for teachers. And I was wondering, did anybody follow up on that? Do we have a response back about that? And because it is my understanding that our district has incorporated Panorama as part of their curriculum. And the thing that bothers me is that these type of programs are really critical race theory. However, they sell it to you as SEL. And when you look at those things, it looks like, oh yeah, these are great. This is a great curriculum. This is a great thing for our children. And so you do the surveys, you pay for the surveys, and then you pay for the curriculum. And then the curriculum is exactly what was presented earlier. That really disturbs me. And I think that as a school board, every one of you should be looking at this curriculum, looking at your libraries, and looking what is being taught in the books that are being used, because there is a lot of critical race theory going on in your schools. The SEL and culturally responsive training sounds great, but it really does introduce all those controversial things that I don't think anyone in this room wants to have in their classrooms or for their children. For
personal point of view, Panorama is infused with CRT all over the place, and you got a good demonstration this evening. I think we must carefully investigate what the curriculum is being adopted, what our librarians and media specialists are purchasing, and where they're getting the approval for those purchases, because somebody has to approve all of that. And I'm really concerned about all of this in our Title I schools especially. I think it's very important for those Title I schools to be looked at when it comes to critical race theory. Dr. Pace, not to offend you because I don't mean it at all, but why do we think Dr. Pace was appointed to go to Washington, D.C. to look at the curriculum? Because it's in Osceola County schools.
Next up is Zahira Pim Andino, followed by Joanne Enrique.
Good evening, my name is Aida Peña-Andino. I am a resident in St. Cloud, Florida. First of all, I want to say that as a teacher, I am blessed to have a very understanding and supporting administration. And we form a good team where we are. So second of all, it was good to hear from the board all the positive comments at the beginning of this meeting. And we want to continue building that relationship. I'm also part of the executive board of the OCEA. So I thank you for your time and the successful things that we have accomplished together. As a teacher and as a former professional 16 years ago, I understand the hard work that all these paraprofessionals face daily. And I feel that many times they are at a higher risk than teachers when they need to go to numerous classrooms to sub, to work with hundreds of students during MTSS, III time, and every day, and they are not being compensated accordingly. It's sad to hear that teachers that have been working, paraprofessionals that have been working for 15 years, they make a salary of less than $17,000 before taxes. That they're being constantly pulled to sub, they're working with large groups and not enough space because we're running out of space. Basically, they need to plan for the students and do the work that teachers are doing, but they're not being compensated as they should. It's normal that they feel undervalued and underappreciated, even though our administration is very supportive. Definitely the payment is not going to cover all the struggles that they go through today. A 24-year veteran in this county that only goes home after because she needs to pay insurance she goes home with $450 a month. Who lives with that? They need to be subbing again. So I know the circumstances throughout the county, it's difficult, but as a board, I'm asking you today to treat the professional support staff negotiations with the same grace as you did the instructional negotiations. As a district, we cannot afford to lose any more high quality and committed staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Joanne Enrique. Sorry. If you would, your name and address for the record, please.
Joanne Enrique, 630 South Del Monte Court, Kissimmee, Florida, 34758. I am a resident of Point Siena and have been a teacher in Osceola County for 15 years. I joined the mentorship program this year with the mindset that I was going to impact new teachers coming to this field, not knowing anything about critical race theory and the New Teacher Center. Was never told anything about that. Was the furthest thing from my mind. As I mentored a teacher today who I've seen 3 times last week and once this week because of all the things that she has to do she was so overwhelmed that she wanted to talk to me and she just wanted me to sit there, and I was telling her, I'm going to the school board meeting. And she was like, yeah, but I'm gonna come down on my computer really quickly because I need to talk to you about the eye observation. And I was on. She's one that stayed. We've lost quite a few. First day, first week. So coming into this, it was, I'm gonna work with new teachers and I'm gonna help support them because there's a plethora of things that we have to do on a daily basis. And if you could just have someone remind you of maybe a deadline or something that needs to be done, or how exactly to do it would be awesome. I didn't have that, but I was so glad that I can offer that service to someone else, besides my teaching responsibilities in the afternoon. Coming from elementary school to high school because I was told they needed my help with the students in intensive reading as well as the new teachers. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Where's the training? Where's the program that we're supposed to work with? And I hear some buzz about critical race theory, and I'm like, what are they talking about? I don't know what's going on. What does that have to do with me trying to support a new teacher to help students? And I'm saying to her, if you could just not look to man for your glory, but understand that you're doing this from your heart and to help students, and if you could help teach somebody or youth in spite of themselves, then this is for you. Never mind those that have walked out on me already. So I'm just trying to understand what is going on with the new teacher center and the training and Keanu, et cetera, that we're supposed to have. This was a position that I was told, was available and offered to me. I have no idea what's going on now. And is this position being removed? Is the new teacher center being lumped with critical theory, race theory? Why?
That'll be answered tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, April Isaacs, followed by Larry Allen. If it's okay with everybody after these two, I'd like to take about a 5-minute recess. Ms. Isaac, you know the drill here.
Hi,
Haven't seen you in a long
a
time.
long time, sir. I know, you're looking good.
Don't lie to him.
A little more dark hair up here.
I don't believe all of
What's
our
Good
Deputy,
evening,
you escort her out, please.
Good evening, y'all. Today when I was sitting in my classroom, actually sweating because we're 4 degrees hotter than any other room in St. Cloud High, go figure. I remembered that there are others that are not as fortunate as I am. And with my father's lessons on humility, I paused to listen to others and wonder about their plight and fight to actually survive in our schools and provide love for their loved ones at the same time. Most of them go unnoticed until a teacher is absent or a vacancy can't be filled. Most of them want to make a difference and wouldn't have taken the job because if they didn't, because quite frankly, they could make more money on Amazon delivering packages. I, of course, am speaking of our great and unknown ESPs, our paraprofessionals. Many before me and many after will come up here and tell you why ESPs deserve more money. They will explain to you with all the data they can bear about their daily ordeal in classrooms. And you will listen to them with politeness. And you might even think that some really are more deserving. And you may feel as if you want to even reward them. But then you're going to remember that last year's contract was already ratified. So your heartstrings, while maybe they were tugged, will not feel the need to give just a little further. This doesn't make you bad people. I have often said I don't want any of your jobs. This just makes you human. You're trying to balance the budget and complete the job that your constituency voted you in here to do. But before we can say absolutely not, can we take a moment and consider, in the spirit of concern for our fellow man, the need to listen to these ESPs, our people, They don't come here wanting to break the bank. They don't come here calling anybody evil. They come here asking for what our teachers received from the state and the governor this summer, because they work along beside us every step of the way. They come here asking for more because they don't want to leave the jobs they love. However, as inflation rises, well, you already know, that they must do for their families as you would do for yours. I remember that too. They were here during the summer of COVID, passing out foods, computers, and concerns, right next with the bookkeepers. They too came back last year into the masked reality of a different school day and comforted our crying and angry youth. Every day, including today, ESPs wake up just like the rest of us, with masks, some ready in hands, and in hand with teachers like me to help educate our children. I've watched them struggle with assignments that change daily, sometimes even 2, 3, 4 times in a day. They don't complain. They do. I hear their doubts about being able to stay in this job, and I think they're just like me. So why haven't they been rewarded? So tonight, I have no data for you, just food for thought. If we can vote to give someone a $3,000 pay raise a month, maybe, just maybe, we can actually help and get our ESPs to sit at the same table, because I gotta let you guys know, they've been drinking from the same cup as teachers every stinking day.
Ms. Isaac.
Thank you. Please consider this resolution.
Mr. Allen.
Larry Allen, 722 Mabbitt. I wear this for you all, not for me. First of all, thanks for authorizing your bargaining team to give on some things so that we could, both teams could come together and have some sort of agreement that was close enough where we thought everybody in the bargaining unit should have an opportunity to vote to ratify or not. Now it's time to address our ESPs. Each morning, parents across Osceola County entrust SDOC employees with their greatest treasure, their children, but they're our babies. Have you stopped to think that the first person your child sees is an ESP? So pay them like they're handling your greatest achievement. You know, my son, God bless him. You know, some people might look at my life and say, you've done some pretty cool things, but it sounds corny, but those children are my greatest achievement. So I hope you feel the same about yours. So pay them like you appreciate them, because they fill in whenever and wherever they're needed to make each day a good day for your child. These people are much more committed than I am, and I shouldn't say this, probably gonna get myself in trouble, but on a regular basis, I thank God that I'm not a bus driver, because I don't have the patience for it. These people are so much more committed than I'll ever be. So I've got a list here, I've got job titles, I've got hire dates, I've got salaries. So these people all, office aide, 2017 they started, they're making less than 12. Office aide, 2014 they started making less than $12 an hour. Office aide, 2017, less than 12. Another office aide, 2017. Another paraprofessional, 2016 they started, making less than 12. This aide started in 2005, making less than $12 an hour. Another 2005, 2007, 2014, 2013, all under $12 an hour. 2010, 2011, 1999, like Prince said, still making less than $12 an hour. Another 2005, 1999, let me skip forward a little bit. Here's one back in 1994, they make $12.15 an hour. Here's a paraprofessional, 1999, $12.21. There's 2002, paraprofessional, $12.34. Here's one, 1990, making $12.35 as a paraprofessional. There's some better ones. Another, 1999, $12.41. And this is only half the list. And it goes on and on and on. This person, wow, they're making $12.87, that's awesome. That's awesome. Not to belittle them, but I want to give people an understanding of how hard these people work for such little money. You know, gratitude is great, but you can't pay for stuff at Walmart with gratitude. Thank you.
Keep on going, you're on, you want to make a comment now, or you come back, or what?
When we come back, I'll speak.
Okay. Board, if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and take a 5-minute recess. And wait a minute, we haven't done it. All right. Megan Berger?
Yeah. Hi,
Welcome, give us your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes, please.
Hello, my name is Megan Berger. I reside in Kissimmee, Florida, and I'm here to speak to you guys about employee mental health. I am a licensed mental health counselor.
Speak up,
and-
please.
Oh, sorry. I'm here to speak with you about employee mental health. I am a licensed mental
Can y'all
health.
hear now?
Yep, I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I have been, up until this week, contracted with the school board to provide services at the Center for Employee Health 1 day a week, every Tuesday, since February of 2020. I was told that my experience and my certifications were too expensive, and I was replaced with an intern. I have worked with over 75 teachers in the past less than 2 years between my private practice and the school board, and I have seen their morale decrease. I have seen them all suffer. They are required to do so much more, not just COVID, but staff is dropping like flies left and right, and they're picking up the pieces, doing work sometimes for 2, 3, 4 people, and they're not taking breaks, and they're not taking the time to prioritize themselves, and their anxiety is increasing, their depression is increasing, and those that have trauma, their triggers are coming out in the classroom, in front of students, and they are suffering. You have to look at your teachers and find ways to support them, give them the time they need, give them the resources, make sure that they're being heard. They don't have the support, and they're all it's going to reflect on how they help the students. If they are in the middle of an anxiety attack or a panic attack, because believe it or not, they happen in the classroom a lot, how are they supposed to support 20, 25, 30 students standing in front of them? How are they supposed to be present and teach when they themselves are not mentally, physically, emotionally healthy? They are struggling and they're killing themselves trying to teach for these students, and they keep doing it day in and day out because they love their jobs. But I have seen them struggle, and they've asked me to come speak for them, and I'm going to because this is important, and my job is to help people whatever way they need, and if they need me to talk for them because they're too nervous to come share their experience and their struggles and their personal information with the entire county, then that's something I'm willing to do again and again.
Could you stay during the break? Can I talk with me a second?
I'm sorry, what?
Could you talk with me during the break?
Talk with what?
Talk with him during the break.
During the break.
We're gonna break after your. Would you mind talking to?
Stay.
Sorry,
Yes.
He wants you to stay for a minute. He's gonna chat with you afterwards.
Yeah, I have no problem staying to chat. Any questions you guys have, I can give you my information and you can email me, and any way I can support teachers' mental health, students' mental health, I am glad to be on board.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Berger.
you so
Thank you
much
for
for
coming up and speaking to us. Ms. Berger? Ms. Berger? If you can come back up, we have a question. I'm sorry. Just go ahead and ask a question. Just a second, Julie.
Ms. Berger, do you know what happens with your clients that you have now, or your patients, so to speak?
Oh, some of them I had to transfer to my private practice.
Just a second, we're still going, we're not finished. We have a question for Ms. Berger, if you could.
The clients I was already receiving are transferred to my private practice, which is based in St. Cloud, about 5 miles east of here.
The problem then becomes the new teachers that come in, the new, not just teachers, district staff, employees, paraprofessionals, any level. I've worked with all of them. I've heard all of their stories and they all have similar stories when you look at the bigger picture. But they're now being told they have to work with an intern who's not trained in the issues these teachers are struggling with, and they see her and then they come see me, and I mean, interns are great, they need support, but I think these teachers need more.
Thank
They
you, Ms.
need more
Burns, thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, how is it that we can send an employee to go see an intern for mental health services? Dr. Pace?
He's got a question.
And let us, Mr. Annoyer, that's why I want to meet with her and Sarah right now and get out of this.
We are now going to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll be back here at 7:30.
Sorry. Hey, how are you guys doing? I was pointing at something. I know where your line of I saw it. I think I'm gonna talk about some of this stuff when we come back.
Needed for it last time.
full-time in-house rather than contract with a company, because you were spending a lot of money. You could say the employees that have been seeing this counselor can continue to see her through our EAP program. Okay. So that's what's happening.
You want to go to Pine
Yes,
View?
on Pine Tree property, if you recall, this is property in St. Cloud, which is surplus, which we had a proposal to sell. Ms. Melendez.
You pulled that item,
pulled
so
that,
are
I
you
thought.
not pulling it now?
No, I didn't pull Pine Tree, I pulled 15.02.
My apologies.
Mr. Melendez raised the issue of it could be more valuable as commercial. We went and looked at it, and unless the board has an objection, we are going to approach St. Cloud about rezoning the property to commercial.
Yes.
It as the precursor to putting it up for sale.
And then a precursor to selling it and doing that.
All
right. 15.02 I pulled, but since I think on 03 will be longer, I just wanted to clarify something with the board. The last meeting you approved, which you're required to under your policies, an out-of-state trip by an employee to the ACTE Career Tech Vision Annual Conference in New Orleans. Unfortunately, the employee, she cannot attend for personal reasons, so we want to substitute the superintendent of Ms. Custer, not Ms. Custer, I'm sorry, Melissa Eilers, a resource specialist in CTE, who would go in the place of Ms. Custer.
It's the same thing, just a different person.
Right, but we wanted to make aware of that unless they were
Any issue with
an
that?
issue. Where is this? It's not, I just brought it up, it just popped up and we wanted to make sure we had it
It's
covered.
just to change the name out.
Okay, now to
Everybody's good with that.
the attorney's report on the new teacher center. Let me preface something very succinctly. I think everybody in this room believes in one thing, we're all Americans. We all want everybody treated the same. I don't know anybody who disagrees with that concept. But I have learned one thing in my career, particularly now, that when the word race comes up, it brings up a lot of emotions across the board. I mean, all over the place. I was asked to look into this issue of the new teacher center. I've heard more issues tonight, and I'll speak on that as we move along. I put this together, and I can, where did I put it? It's on the board. It's on the board. I'm going to start with reminding, reminding everybody that the goal of this district is to inspire all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens. And that means every child, regardless of their race, their ethnicity, anything, we look to strive to teach to be equal and respect one another to succeed, right? How is that done in the district? They build equity by assuring kids get the access and support they need as individuals.
I need somebody to change it for you. I can do that.
Could you do that for me? It's gonna be a lot
I do this
easier.
for a living. This is what I do.
We want them to read and think critically, communicate their ideas clearly, and make informed decisions about their future. There's an effort to prepare to achieve them for success in college, the military, or workplace, and contribute to our thriving community, and to achieve equity for all kids, adults, and accept responsibility. And you can see it off of positive relationships. The question becomes, how do you get there? And everybody's got a different opinion on that. Critical race theory. I have read more about critical race theory. I would say to you, I do not have a high opinion of this intellectual thought process, right? It is a school of thought that explores and critiques American history, society, and institutions of power from a race-based perspective. I think what's happened is people use this term the minute the word race comes up. So let's understand. You could call, based on my reading, you could almost accuse anything of being a critical race theory. So we gotta go very precise as we're dealing with this. It is not recommended, I can tell you, for teaching in the K-12 systems. It is recommended the articles I read, at a doctorate level for people to explore, et cetera. It's at a graduate level. It is not part of our school curriculum. It is not to be part of our school curriculum. Now, I want to preface something so nobody gets critical. We have a ton of teachers. I can't assure you that every single teacher doesn't somehow at some time engage in critical race theory discussions, right? All I can tell you is that's got to be reported to us. We need to immediately investigate it, and we need to stop it because that's the law. Okay? We teach to the next generation Sunshine State standards and the benchmarks for excellent student thinking standards. Next one, please. It is not taught by the school district. It's not approved to be taught by this school district, and it's not endorsed by this school district, all right? So the fact that we may have an employee who's doing something, that is not the school district condoning it. All we can do is look at it and go deal with it and stop it. There is an effort to be culturally responsive in our teaching, to understand the backgrounds of different cultures so that we can best deal with those students. Now, in state board approved this rule, and paragraph B I highlighted, okay? Specifically that the teaching of critical race theory, meaning the theory that racism is not merely the product of prejudice, but that racism is embedded in American society and its legal system in order to uphold the supremacy of white persons, is not acceptable. And let me aside one editorial comment, because my dad was a Marine and I'm very protective of this country. The lady who said we're the racist country in the world, travel with me to countries that would take every woman in this room and treat them like property. Travel with me to countries that I've been in that don't allow in a black person, all right? We are not the racist country in the world. In fact, the fact we can even talk about this shows we're not. The fact we elected a black president, who a lot of white people got him elected, says we're not. Now, that doesn't mean every American's not a racist. But I wouldn't sit by and hear somebody accuse this country of being the most racist country in the world. Because if we were, a lot of people in this room wouldn't be here, including me. So the state passed this. They required that instructional planning. Every textbook we use is chosen from the approved list by the Florida Department of Education. Just every textbook that is used. These are the comments from the state board of the importance of the amended rule. It will continue to foster an environment that allows every student to think critically and for themselves. Right? They're provided, and they go through all the reasons behind the rule. Okay? You can see it. We're obligated to follow that rule. The state board was obligated to establish those standards. To ensure we're in full compliance, this is what is implemented. Develop a guaranteed and viable curriculum for instruction in state standards. We use the school district's adopted instructional and supplemental materials. We collaborate with professional learning communities on appropriate instructional methods and strategies. We request assistance from academic coaches, school resource teachers, and/or school administrators if there are questions or concerns about instructional content. We provide instruction in an unbiased manner. Okay. We notify the school principal prior to instruction on any content that may be considered by a prudent person to be controversial within prevailing Osceola community or school community standards. Both sides get presented, and so forth. There are multiple steps taken. Now, in August of this year, every person who was educating or working with a student was informed by memo of the state rule and the requirement of no critical race theory. Additionally, Dr. Pace, one group of administrators was trained specifically to understand that this was not to be done. Okay. What is very interesting is when I contacted the state of Florida Department of Education, lo and behold, on the state website, the new teacher center is the one that the state of Florida says is one of the few data-based effective teaching centers. It's on the state DOE website. In May of this year, there was, and I'll pass it out to you, there was a presentation to the State Board of Education by a Ms. Janet Gless, Chief Officer, Programs and Partnerships, New Teacher Center. Here's her whole presentation to the State Board. Right. So the state,
Keep it on one screen, I'm trying to
I'm
read these.
looking at what he's doing, he's
Oh.
flipping up and down, so that's why I'm moving.
let me move this around a little bit. Okay,
I'm a fast reader, but I'm not that
I'm
fast.
just trying to follow him.
they literally have on their website for training that the new teacher center is the center. I called up there, said, are they teaching critical race theory? No. They're one of the best, if only, entity we found that has fact-based standards. So I can't tell you the new teacher center's teaching critical race theory because the state of Florida, the two people that are the most against critical race theory that I know personally, the governor and the commissioner of education, have it on their official website for school districts to utilize it. Now, what I am gonna recommend to you is that you allow me to take everything that was given to me from the people and send it to the state to say, it is being raised to us that they are teaching critical race theory. I can tell you in the proposed contract with them, they are not allowed to do that. They specifically are obligated in the paragraph that they have to comply with state and federal laws, which means they can't teach this. It's our responsibility to then monitor that nobody does that. It performs according to the contract. But I can tell you, I'm a lawyer. I could argue any position on this, given the way everything's written and done, all right? It's just facts. I mean, the reality is, I think if DOE is gonna have it on their website, then DOE should look at this and decide, do they think it's somehow violating the law? And I'm asking people when they think an employee is teaching this or doing something inappropriate, and the chief legal officer, you can report it to me immediately and it's gonna get investigated. And it may be that I contact the state and say, here are the facts, what do you think? Because I can tell you this is a very fact-driven issue. I can tell you that on one side, the mere mention of the word race, somebody will say you're teaching critical race theory. On the other side, I've heard people say, no, we're teaching about slavery and the history of the country, right? Personally, I don't think our teachers in a K-12 system, this isn't a college, in a K-12 system, should be voicing any opinions on issues like this. They should simply be talking about the facts of the history of the US. That's where I come from, all right? But we have a law to comply with, and I can tell you that I don't think the board is equipped, quite candidly, to look and go, that is critical race, that isn't critical race theory, because now some of it's black and white, you can, I hate to use that, but the reality is you can look at it and go, wait a second, telling that there's white supremacy and you should somehow feel guilty. It's just not acceptable, right? So right now, the state says the new teacher center is apparently not a critical race theory thing. I know the proposed contract doesn't let them teach that. I've talked to Dr. Pace that if they continue to be employed, we need to have somebody that attends it and monitors and makes sure that there is no violation of that, right? But every one of these things that are handed to me, and I value what everybody's giving me, you can pick a word out and go, wait a second, this is critical race theory. For example, the panoramas, the surveys, the questions really came from us about asking kids about different things, what they felt. It doesn't preach a particular view, right? So you can get to the point where this thing gets so arbitrary and capricious that we don't move left or right. So in conclusion, I will tell you, based upon the research, the state's saying the new teacher center is not doing it. Now, I can't tell you that that person who's in that classroom at that moment in time isn't violating it, other than I think there should be very strict accountability on the topic. And I think, I'm glad those posters came down at the school. I think there are some topics that are, this is not something to engage a K-12 population in, about somehow the seeds of all this. Look, you can talk about the history of this country without getting into who's at fault and who isn't. Right? So members of the board, I have to tell you that I would love to be able to tell you that a critical race theory is that board right there, but it's not that case. It's I mean, and some of the writings on this stuff, I would tell you as an American, are frightening to me. So I applaud the governor and the state for saying we're not having that taught. I just can't tell you that based upon what's there, that the new training center is violating it. I told Dr. Pace, you know, we don't let them teach that. That's not part of the curriculum. And so we have to deal with it. Now, that's not to somehow minimize the individual comments of people and sentences of particular things they've given me. I understand where they can think that. Other people will say, no, that's not really what it's saying. And all I can tell you is, since we need to comply with the law, when these issues come up, I need to write the Department of Education and say, you tell me. Otherwise, you're gonna make me or somebody the arbiter of whether or not, and there'll be those people who say no and those people who say yes. And that's really the DOE's responsibility, in my opinion. Ours, some I could look right at it and say, no, I don't even need to write. It violates it.
I think we've got some questions for you. Mr. Arguello.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. So here's the thing. Number one, I think that when people say CRT, they're not talking about critical race theory, the legal study at Harvard being taught to people who are getting their PhD. These people are talking about what we're teaching here at our schools, and everybody's using CRT the way we call aspirin Tylenol, right? It's just a generic term. I think everybody knows that. Let's put that aside and move on from that discussion because that's fruitless. Let's discuss the actual subject matter that we're teaching our kids and teaching our teachers, right? The fact is there's much that has been brought up by the people that are here, for example, that is very concerning. And what we should be addressing is what they brought, not what somebody said at the DOE, not what somebody so on. We need to be addressing what they have found.
I agree, there are two issues here. One is the new teacher center.
Right.
But in the course of doing that,
let me address that.
I can tell you that there are individual issues that have been raised that I think border on violating that CRT.
So there are two issues here, right? One of the issues is what they're teaching, right? Or what is believed to be being taught in our schools. And the other issue is a trust of the school district, right? Both are lacking. These families have no trust in what the school district is approving to be taught in our schools. That's clear, right? What we need to be able to tell them is, you know what? This is what we have found, and this is what we report on our teaching to you based on what you have brought us. I'm not sure that anybody here is gonna feel better after a legalese explanation of what, what we're compliant, right? And this is not about you. This is about, for me, this is literally the district, just like this presentation, providing an excuse and putting in a 1,500 dissertation in a 20-minute space of time to go over so that we don't have to answer to those parents that are sitting there, right?
Let's break this up. This issue was assigned to me, one, the new teacher center.
Right.
I can't tell you they're violating because the state of Florida.
I haven't gotten to the NTC yet.
I need, if the board wants me to look into individually each thing, and candidly I think we should, then I need to interview each of these people to get where did it happen, what school, what person, and address it.
So, from my perspective, I'm gonna start over, okay? Because I'm addressing the issue, I'm not addressing this. I'm not addressing your report, I'm addressing the issue. So, number one, if this is the case, we're doing no wrong. These people should trust us. What they have found is incorrect. There's no basis to the accusations. Then the board should have no problem passing a resolution stating that we are against CRT, that we will not be teaching CRT-like curriculum, and that we can make that promise to the people who are sitting right here, for example. If it's the case that we're not doing anything wrong, then we shouldn't have a problem doing that. Right?
I don't think that's necessary, because you're all telling you the word, you're obligated to follow Florida law.
Right.
And that says you will not do that.
Well, but if everyone did that, then we would never have a jail, all right? But people do. And here's the thing, in the end, we don't work for the governor. In the end, we work for the people who are sitting in this salon right now. And so these people are the ones that we need to answer to. These are the people that we need to satisfy with our answers. If the governor becomes upset with what we're doing, he will let us know.
But
right?
You're jumbling this together, so let me say.
It is together. NTC, I'm not even addressing yet.
No, let's deal with NTC, because that's what I was asked to report on. I'm telling you, the state is listing that as the center for districts to use.
Okay,
It's on their website.
Let's set NTC aside then, and then you can put it on the agenda, and then at the next meeting, everybody will come out and speak on the agenda, so let's pass on to them.
If the board, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I'm not telling these people they're wrong, all right? I wasn't assigned that. I spoke to Dr. Pace and said, we need to investigate these things, but that, I need to get very detailed with each one of them on specifics, like, and then deal, and Kelly, that's gonna be an ongoing thing, because we have so many employees with so many views, some of them may not even realize what they're doing.
Well, again.
We gotta deal with it.
Again, if that's the case, right, then the school board should have no problem approving a resolution stating that fact. If that's the case. If it's the case, there should be no hesitancy to, just like we did a school bus safety week, school bus safety month, all right? It's very easy. We're gonna come, oh, school bus safety, yay! But when it comes to something like critical race theory or what the curriculum that we're teaching our kids, which is the most important thing that we're doing, then we're like, oh, well, we don't wanna make that kind of promise, you know? I think it's time that we stop being sneaky, because that's what the suspicion is.
Stop.
I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the school district.
I'm defending my board, I don't know if you're being sneaky, I think every time something's been raised, this board's asked me to investigate it.
Right, but you know what, I'm on this board, Frank, and I can speak for my own opinion. That's my perception, okay? If we wanna talk about race, to me, the curious part, if we're gonna say that, oh, well, we're gonna be, it's okay to teach this, it's okay to teach that, that's no problem, NTC is fine. If we really wanna combat racism and combat inequality in our community, we'll start giving some of the contracts that the board gives to its friends and allies and political contributors to the community that's out there that doesn't get those contracts.
Let's get Mr. Melendez, let's hear his comments, because we're getting way down in the weeds here, I'm not quite sure what the purpose is.
So real quickly, so the NTC, he vetted it and saw it, and then the question is.
They can't hear you.
Yeah, the question on the training center, we saw that it's a program that's approved through the state of Florida itself. We know exactly what they were gonna be teaching, the part of it, that is coaching the teachers. But we do have, what I heard from there is that we do want an accountability piece. So Dr. Pace, I would like for you to, when the coaches follow through and teach, that they are sticking to what they're supposed to do, which is mentoring teachers how to become better teachers and strategies and things like that, and to make sure that CRT isn't creeping into it. And so also agree with what Frank said also, that if we find anything, that we address it. You know, I mean, like I said there, you know, to be honest with you, I saw that white supremacy book. Next thing you know, I found it in the state statute that he recited to us, not state statute, but Florida rule, and we saw that that's kind of contradictory. So I think that in itself is how you build that trust. When we find issues, we address it. The Black Lives Matter was at Gateway High School. We found it, we addressed it. So, the point is that one thing I would like to do though, which I wanted to mention at the last board meeting, was that I got a bit confused because a lot of people use the word CRT, but there's like culturally relevant training and other things like that. It's not just critical race theory. I would like to see maybe a workshop where staff kind of tells us what those parameters are and what they mean. The CRT has different acronyms, and it's not always just racism based. And so with that, I don't want to have the long board meeting, but I would like to have a workshop so that way when I hear in the middle of the night, we could just have a topic just on CRT and let them know what the different acronyms mean and that not all of it is the critical race theory itself.
Mr. Arguello and then Ms. Castillo.
And, right,
I know you've got some resolution stuff under new business. I want to move.
So here's the thing, NTC, like I said, we can set that aside, you guys can put it up, you guys can approve it if you're gonna do that. That's neither here nor there for me. Looking at their mission, I think it's quite clear what the intention is, right? And they may not use CRT, so what's gonna happen? Every organization in education is gonna take the letter, the acronym, and the statement CRT and critical race theory out of their program. They'll never mention it again. And then they're gonna start mentioning other things that words like have been hijacked, like equality, right? And equity, right?
Please,
So if they,
let us have our discussion, please.
so that's what's gonna happen. So here's the thing, why can't we have, we fail in terms of bringing up whether we were gonna give the parents and the community the right to speak, we failed acting. The FSBA came a week later and then they said, you know what, we're gonna go against what the NSBA said and we're gonna do this. So we failed. This district, this school board, not this district, the school board lacks the courage to do what the community is asking us to do at any point in time. It absolutely it's a shame that we just can't do what's right. Why can't you do what the community is asking us to do? Why is it always fighting? And if we could do that, what you're gonna see is that nobody will come anymore, the way it used to be when you just used to vote 5-0 no matter what for everything. You're gonna see they're gonna eventually stop coming, because then they're gonna start to have trust again that at least you'll take up what they say. So, I mean, we should be, if it's the case, Frank, if your legal opinion is that we're not doing anything wrong based on what you've looked, I know it's only for NTC, right? So I'm just using it as an example. If the district is not doing anything wrong, then we should not have a problem making a resolution that the community is asking us to do, right? I don't understand the opposition to making a resolution, right? So we should be able to resolve. In the end, this is the board, there's 5 members, we are in charge of leading. It's not Frank, right? It's not the assistant superintendents. It is the 5 of us who are charged with leading this. It's not superintendent. It's the 5 of us who are elected to sit here on this dais and actually make the decisions on behalf of the community. And so if we fail to do that like we have in the past, then shame on us. At what point are we gonna have the courage to be able to say, have a real discussion, right? Where you guys don't come in advance and then you're gonna come and no matter what's gonna be no, no matter what's gonna be yes, come in, have the courage to have the discussion about something real, something where those are real people there. It's not like I told them to come here. These are not people who can even vote for me. So, but they're coming here and they have a concern and we should be addressing their concern. When people come in, when those teachers come in here, when that union comes in here, we should be able to address their concerns, not go up somewhere, make a decision in the dark cigar smoke filled room and then come. Let's just do it here. Let's just do it here. Have the courage to do what's right, okay? And this board, and I'll say it again, doesn't have a history of doing that. So I'm ready to move on to the resolutions that I put forth, and I hope.
Ms. Castillo has a comment, she will be here.
I have the mic. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will be brief. I just wanted to say, because I think that it might require consensus, that I agree with Mr. Melendez's idea of having a workshop and I'm not so much worried about discussing critical race theory. What I'm really worried about is discussing how we are serving our students, because a lot of the language that I think is being used has been put into place because we are trying to serve students at the end of the day. So I don't know if we're making that decision today, but Dr. Pace, if you are in favor, I would love to have a conversation about, yes, what all these terms mean that we may not understand because we are not in the education realm the way that you are as an educator, but more about how we're gonna serve our students and the reasoning, the theories behind all of the things that we're implementing. So I just wanted to call you out on that, Mr. Melendez. That's a great idea.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, unless the board has a problem with it, I would legally like to get with Dr. Pace. I'd like to ask these people to leave their names and phone numbers. I'll call each one of them and get the specifics, and we will look into each issue that's been raised, and then report back to the board.
Sorry, I have it.
All right, unfinished business, Dr. Pace, you've got the master board training dates, you had a question?
I have sent dates to the 5 of you. I've not heard back from anybody. They're available January the 13th or January 28th for the first full day. It would be from 9 to 3 with a working lunch. And then we have the follow-up half a day, either February the 10th or February the 24th. And I'm recommending either March 31st or April 7th for a strategic planning retreat. I just need feedback if there's any one of those dates that will not work for any
28th
one
will
of you.
not work for me, I'm out.
Pardon me?
January 28th does not work for me, I'm out of town.
Okay?
It's the 27th.
January
Was it the 27th?
January 13th, February.
I'm out that
Those are the
week,
dates that
Oh,
so leaving the 25th.
I apologize. Okay.
13th is fine.
Yeah, 13th is good with me.
Okay, so we'll go with January the 13th for the first day, February the 10th or February 24th?
February 10th.
I cannot do the 10th.
Okay, so can we do the 24th?
Yeah.
All right, 24th.
Hold on, give me 1 second, I'll get this on my calendar before I lose it.
Right.
Good idea.
12:30 to 4:30. We'll get calendar invites out to everybody to make them official. I just want to follow up with Ms. Cook and FSBA to
God
get
bless
those
you.
dates.
Okay, what was the second day, February what?
February 24th, be the afternoon.
That'll work for me.
All right, and then for a full day, March 31st or April the 7th.
I don't know.
March 31st, or what was the other one?
April 7th.
Man, they're on the same Thursdays.
If
They're
that's
both-
all, that's
they're-
me,
they're back
that's
to
my
back
fault.
Thursday. I'm fine with the
I asked for
31st.
the Thursdays.
None of my Thursdays, but I have my son every Thursday. The other Thursday would be, that's
Which
like,
Thursday?
but I'll do it this way. As long as I know ahead of time, I can work it out.
And it's just during the, like,
Good
work
day,
day.
right? So your son did.
Yeah, so probably at school, so it's
Yeah.
no problem.
All right, so March 31st?
Yeah, why don't you work with Ms. Melinda, I don't know what's.
No, that's good, don't worry about it, I'll work it out, I'll work it out.
Maybe
I know ahead of time, I'll square it away.
And we'll make sure we work together. All right, thank you, that's all for that.
All right, brings us, excuse me, to new business, and I have the order right. Mr. Melendez, you want a discussion on
Yes.
arts and theater?
Yes, this one's a discussion, I was gonna talk to Dr. Allen, I haven't a chance to get to him yet, but I did have a meeting yesterday, that's how quick it was. So I apologize for the quickness, and I just wanna bring it out there. Cause I'm a big, supporter of the arts. And the issue with Poinciana, that area, we have Profa at the elementary school, but there's no feeder middle school that allows the students to go there. Because I wanna try to increase the number of students going to OXA from the Poinciana area too. So we want that kind of representation of the equity to kind of be there, you know what I mean? So that way OXA is not just one part of the county, it's the whole county. And Poinciana is not even my district, but I still care, you know what I mean? And so, I don't know what that does, you know what I mean, as far as like looking at the overall, numbers and things like that. I just wanna see if maybe we can identify one of the middle schools. And, because like I said, I don't wanna force a principal to accept it, because they gotta embrace that culture. It's not just, okay, just call it the School of Fine Arts or whatever, and that's it, you know what I mean? So I just want staff to come back and say, hey, identify a middle school that they think that would be a pretty good feeder pattern, so that way, the arts are supported throughout the entire academic journey.
And certainly we can look at the arts programs and see where that would be a good fit. Remember that OXA is a 6-12 program, so that's why there wasn't a designated middle school, because the K-5 PAFA feeds into the 6-12 OXA. But we certainly can look at what arts programs.
But then we gotta look at how many students from Prof are actually going there, and is it successful? I mean, the accountability portion, just making sure that if that's what it's for, I wanna make sure that they're getting there. If not, at least give them another track.
Okay, thank you. We'll follow up.
There's another great opportunity to find some equity, right? Have the same number of kids from each district get to OXA. It might be something to consider. I know that PAFA, and correct me if I'm wrong, Superintendent, but we have PAFA which began as a program that had the fine arts program under our grant, but then they lost that grant, or the grant discontinued, and it's no longer operating under the same.
We have still added the additional allocation to make sure that they have a dance program, along with their visual arts and their music.
It's not the same level of programming, or is it?
They are still doing a performance every year collectively as a group.
So even though the loss of the grant, it did not change any of the curriculum at that school, or the programs?
I don't really think so, but let me follow up with Dr. Reyes to be absolutely sure.
Otherwise, I think that that's a great idea.
Because we still administer after school programs as well.
What is POD?
Quincy.
Oh. No, I've never heard of it.
That's what they call it.
Okay, so we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the last thing real quick, the calendar, you told me to remind you, Dr. Pace, because when we set the school board calendar for next year, we're always at the same time that the city of Kissimmee does. And the city of Kissimmee has it in their charter, so it's hard for them, they just can't vote on it. They gotta have like this whole kit and caboodle to change it. So instead of us meeting whatever Tuesdays that we meet, if we can meet the other Tuesdays, if it's the first and third or the second and fourth, I wanna be able to rotate it, because I would like to attend some of the city of Kissimmee meetings or have them come see us too. So, because we don't conflict with the county and we don't conflict with the city of St. Cloud, but we always conflict with the city of Kissimmee. And I can never go to any of the city of Kissimmee meetings. So I would like to be the first government body that says, hey, we're willing to change. And Kissimmee was willing to. I even talked to Stagwell, but the problem is that he said it's embedded in the charter and it's a process to change. Us, it's just 3 votes to say, hey, let's have the next calendar. And I already checked with Sarah Graber. The only thing that may conflict is like when we actually pass the budget, you know what I mean, because that's a statutory date, and then maybe our organizational date. So I'm not saying every single day has to be different, but the ones that aren't statutorily defined, if we can then have our meetings so that way we can attend the other governments. And also that applies to the citizens. The citizens may want to go to both, and they can't do that right now. They have to choose which one to go to.
I've got a problem with the fourth. On the fourth Tuesdays. Or the first, third, second, fourth, whatever everybody's thinking.
Okay, I mean, that's it.
Okay, Mr. Arguello, you have, I can't read my notes very well, 3 resolutions.
I have 3 resolutions, Mr. Chairman.
The OTEC discussion was Dr. Pace's, right?
Say again?
You're just putting, I'm just trying to get myself straight. You're putting that on the next agenda.
I just want the board to consider if we wanted to change our legislative priorities to include an OTEC extension.
Are y'all, just do that real quick, are y'all okay with putting that for discussion on the next agenda? Okay, all right, now, sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, so I do have 3 resolutions that I would like the board to pass. One of them being the issue of the opportunity for the public to come and speak. People have made good use of it here at the school district. They have come, Mr. Chairman, to your credit, you have allowed everyone to speak, given everyone their fair opportunity. I appreciate that very much. I'm sure that the community appreciates it very much. However, at the same time, we just saw the county remove public speaking from their agenda and only allow people to speak on the items that are up on the agenda. So I wanted to affirm the public's right and our encouragement of them to come and speak, not just on the agenda item, but whatever they believe is important for them to be able to speak on. It's simple. There's nothing here that is controversial. It's simply whereas the school district of Osceola County is a public service responsible to the community it serves, whereas public education is essential to an informed citizenry, the foundation of our democratic society, and whereas public schools are the cornerstone of each community, bringing together adults, children, educators, volunteers, business leaders, community groups, and elected officials in a common enterprise, and whereas a commitment to First Amendment rights of all citizens is guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution and integral to the spirit of Florida's open meeting laws, and whereas the school district encourages and welcomes parents as well as other concerned citizens to engage in lively, respectful, and civic discourse at the school board meetings, and whereas the school district affirms that the safety of all persons who attend school board meetings is of the utmost importance, and whereas the Osceola County School Board maintains full confidence in and appreciates our partnership with local law enforcement agencies to effectively address issues of public safety if they arise. Now therefore be it resolved that the school district of Osceola County will continue to provide a safe environment for all stakeholders to exchange views, thereby ensuring parents' voices are heard when it comes to decisions about their children's education and safety. That's all. It's very simple. There's no hidden political message there. There's nothing of consequence to anyone else. All it does is remind our community that we are open for their discussion, that we appreciate them coming in, and that we will not take any action that curtails their ability to speak.
Well, I can tell you, I don't think, since I've only been on the board, certainly I feel like since I've been chairman, I've not curtailed anybody's ability to speak on any issue. We've had some people talk about things that have nothing to do with school board, but we've allowed the 3 minutes for them to speak. I, for one, I think that's our policy and that's our mission. I'm not sure why we need another resolution to do that. Does anybody want?
That's a good point, Chairman. That's a good point, Mr. Chairman. The problem is that you're not running for re-election. The board makeup changes, and then the mission of the board, the majority may decide at some later point to change the changes, right? And also, this board could, majority is together, the board majority could at any point in time curtail their the ability for them to speak. So
And I would think if it gets to that point, it's up to the board at that time.
It's too late when it gets to that point.
Yeah, but the resolution doesn't change our school board policy.
That's
But I'm
right.
still willing to support the resolution because I think it's fair and simple. It's like, why argue over nothing? But school board policy supersedes the resolution. And the school board policy stays whether or not you have a new majority. The new majority would have to actually.
But it's not in our policy.
Yes, it is. To speak for 3 minutes.
Yes, but 3 minutes, but you can change it. You can change all of it.
Well, we can change the resolution.
Right, you can change the resolution. So all you're doing right now is affirming, that's all. It's like you said,
Yeah, I
there's
can affirm it, it's no problem. I
no
can sign it
problem.
off because I agree. I'm just saying, just keep moving on. I don't want to spend a half hour talking about something that's real simple. It's either you support it, yes or no, because it's very simple, it's easy language.
Well, I'll motion to adopt this resolution.
Right, so-
Well, before we get
But is
there,
that
we don't
the-
normally vote on resolution or anything.
gotta
They're
be
added
on
to
the
the
next
agenda.
It's gotta, or you gotta have it on the next agenda.
Okay, put on the
Okay,
next
so-
agenda.
So then what I'd like to do then is motion to have this resolution put on the next agenda.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't think you need a motion, we're just gonna.
I know,
Well, I'm not
but-
sure. Do we
but I'm
have
doing
enough
that. That's-
consensus among the
that's
board to put it
exactly-
on there? Who would like this on there? Just kind of give me a head nod.
It's of no consequence, like, fine,
Just put it on there, we can vote on it and
Yeah,
disagree. I mean, you know, this is a lot of time spent.
All right, I agree. Let's move on.
We are getting paid and we were elected, so I'm not keeping track of my time.
Well, you know what? I'm concerned, everybody here is getting paid. It's not us that I'm concerned.
So,
It is a lot of staff time.
We're ready for the next one?
Yeah, number 2.
Hey, you don't have to read the whole thing, we got it, so just say, hey, put it on the next agenda.
I'll read it into the record anyways.
Yeah,
You
okay.
can submit it,
So
so.
I'm not sure which number 2 is.
So the second one is a resolution regarding one of the issues that we were discussing earlier, CRT or like-minded instructional criteria. So whereas the school district of Osceola County is a public service responsible to the community it serves, and whereas public education is essential to an informed citizenry, the foundation of our democratic society, and whereas a commitment to teaching in an accurate, fact-based, objective, and non-ideological manner is in the best interest of our students, and whereas our best teachers serve as facilitators for student discussion and do not share their personal views or attempt to indoctrinate or persuade students to a particular point of view, and whereas concepts that impute fault, blame, a tendency to oppress others, or the need to feel guilt or anguish to persons solely based on their race or sex are counterproductive, and whereas the school district of Osceola recognizes that slavery, racism, and discrimination of any form are betrayals of the founding principles of the United States, and whereas efforts to indoctrinate or instill political views is not the task of the school district of Osceola County Schools is charged with, and whereas the goal of the school district is to achieve the best possible result for every child, every chance, every day, regardless of race or gender. Now therefore be it resolved that the school district of Osceola County will comply with the Florida's ban on critical race theory and similar concepts, and choose vendors and educational partners who are committed to keep Osceola education free of political or ideological interferences.
Same question, do people want this moved forward on the board? I'm not sure, there's some of it I don't even understand. If I hear that literally, I'm not sure we can teach democracy anymore.
Just put it on the next agenda, we can vote for it or against it.
All right?
Same thing with the last resolution. He doesn't have to read it to the record in case.
I'm gonna read it anyways, here we go. So the third one,
Even though it's there, just put it in the record.
the third one is regarding the,
Excuse me,
Speak-
Mr. Webb.
yes,
Was there a consensus to put the next one? I heard Julius say it. To have the next one on the next
I
one.
did not.
What's that?
On the second resolution, was there a consensus to add it? I'm not necessarily for adding it right now.
I'm not real crazy about it.
I'm not crazy about it.
I knew it. There was silence, so that's why
I thought, I'm sorry, Mr. Castillo. I thought- So let's go to read number 3.
okay, here we go. So, whereas the school district of Osceola County is a public service responsible to the community it serves, and whereas a high-quality education is the great equalizer for those who are oppressed, and whereas Osceola County is a minority-majority county of which the largest minority community is Hispanic, and whereas we encourage those Hispanic communities to cherish their cultures, and whereas the county commission has banned Spanish from being spoken at the county commission meetings, and whereas the school district of Osceola affirms the right of every citizen and taxpayer to speak the language he or she is most comfortable addressing the school board in, now therefore be it resolved that the school district of Osceola County will never shame a speaker at the school board meeting for choosing to speak any language, will provide interpreter services as services where possible.
And I have the same issue with this one. We do that. We have an interpretation services person at every meeting, the whole meeting. I'm not sure what, we've not stopped people. We've had people speak Spanish before. We've had it interpreted. We've had some that have done it who said, I don't want it interpreted because I was really speaking to Telemundo. So, anybody want to add this?
No.
I don't think we have consensus to add that either. Okay. That brings us to board member comments, anybody? We had enough?
Yeah.
Mr. Arguello?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to take the time to state, you're elected to stand for something. I don't know what, and you can't really tell according to the voting records here on the dais, but you are voted and elected to stand for something. And to be a person of conviction, whatever it is, I mean, I'll commend School Board Member Castillo. She voted for the mask to be mandatory. At least that's some level of conviction. My teachers used to tell me all the time that I would never live up to anything, to result in anything. And I didn't know that they were right until I got elected to office and I sat here behind the dais. So it's just, I wish that you guys would take the work a little bit more seriously. It's not about giving contracts to our buddies or friends or promoting our own agendas. It's simply serving the community that is here before us, not just this community, but the community watching, the communities that live near us and so on. And I won't say the district, but certainly this board is failing in doing that. I know that everybody loves to have smiles and get along and so on, and we have our ambitions and whatever, but it would be great if the board could just listen to their community a little bit more than they listen to themselves. Yes.
With that, we'll stand adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask these people to come up and give me their information?
Did y'all hear Mr. Cup?